Maybe for you.
Let's call this meeting to order. This is the July 20th, 2020 meeting of the Development and Governmental Relations Subcommittee to the City Council. I'm the chairman. With on the committee, members present are Councilor Gladys Lebron-Martinez, Councilor Michael Sullivan, Councilor Peter Tallman. I know that Councilor Howard Graney said he would be calling in soon. He's got a family commitment, so we just want to keep that in mind. Also with us are Councilor Joseph McGivern. Let's see, scanning around, Councilor Linda Bacon, and Councilor Terrence Murphy. So I think we hit all the highlights, and let's do it this way. Previous meeting minutes, we do not have them. I'm going to ask for a suspension and to take agenda item number 4, if we could, please.
Suspend the rules to take item number 4 up for discussion.
Second. Motion made in second. Suspend the rules. Take agenda item up 4 for out of order for purpose of discussion. On the motion, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Agenda item 4. Lebron-Martinez, 6/16/20. That the City Council have an opportunity to hear from Holyoke Medical Center on the recent announcement of the closing of their birthing center, to ask the president and or appropriate designated person who is able to Zoom to answer questions. Also, information be gathered by caregivers and midwives about the closure. Okay, so let me put the video back up if I can. There we are. Let's see if I can do this. Oh, here we go. There we go. Okay. So that item is before us. I did have a couple opportunities to confer with the CEO of the medical center, including today when he called me at 11:30. As a result of the conversation, Spiros is opting not to attend our meeting, but I'm gonna dive into this. So I just want to make it clear, it wasn't for lack of being on vacation. It was for what I gleaned was on advice of counsel, and what Spiros said to me today is that there is a public hearing, a Zoom meeting with DPH, and when we have that information, I'm going to ask the administrative assistant to post that to the City Council's website. I'm going to read into the record exactly what Mr. Terrace wrote to me in an email at 12:10 p.m. and I'll leave it in the jacket as a public record. Dear David, as the public hearing set by DPH is only 1 week away, I will respectfully decline the invitation to today's committee meeting. Instead, my staff and I will focus on preparing for the upcoming public hearing. To that end, I will be happy to address any questions or concerns your committee members or any other City Council members have, if you would be kind enough to solicit those and forward them to me by email. I will do my best to get back to you either before the public hearing next Tuesday, so that would be the 28th, or at the very least to address those questions and concerns in my comments at the hearing. Best regards, Spiros. So what I replied to him and said that any counselor who wishes to submit a question, do so via an email and do so to Ryan Allen, and Ryan can compile them. And I emailed both Ryan and Mr. Terrace today. Ryan will compile them and then send them to Mr. Terrace by Friday at noon, if any counselors have a question about that. In light of that, I'm up for any motion. I would ask the committee to consider tabling this item until such time as we do submit questions and or hear back from. somebody called in. Who's that?
It's Councilor Graney. I move to table.
I'll second that.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. Sounds good. So before we make that motion, I saw councilors with their hands up, and this is my first Zoom as a chairman, and really I'm completely puzzled on what to do. So, so you're probably gonna have to hold on a second. I should be able to work this box here. Okay, with hands raised. Okay, I now have the box up so I can see it to the right. I don't see anybody's hands. I did see councilors with their actual hands raised. So, Councilor Graney, can you just hold on to that motion for a second?
Sure.
Okay. All right, Councilor Tallman, is that okay to hold on to that motion for a second?
Nope, no problem.
Okay. Okay, so I saw Councilor Lebron-Martinez's hand first, and I saw Councilor Murphy's hand second. Councilor Lebron-Martinez.
Yeah, you mentioned the hearing coming up on the 28th. Did he tell you the time? Did he share the time that this is going to take place? And
Gladys, he did not. But what I will do is he said it was with the Department of Public Health, and that's mandated by general law to have that public hearing, Gladys. And so what I'm going to make a note to do that. I will contact Mr. Gutierrez tomorrow, and I will get those details, and I'll ask also, Gladys, for a contact at DPH so they can perhaps send a Zoom link directly to any interested counselor. Would that be okay?
yes, and the reason, excuse me, the reason why I also know that there should be people, Brian, people are waiting in the waiting room to be part of this meeting tonight. This is the question I'm asking that, David, because it will be helpful for them to know.
Gladys is talking to me right now. Hey, Gladys, there's nobody in the waiting room right now.
Okay, there's no one in the waiting room.
No. As they come, I will allow them to come in the meeting.
Okay.
Go ahead, Gil. Thank you, Ryan. Go ahead, Gladys.
Yeah. Okay, that
Well,
answer.
okay, so I just want to address Councilor Lebron-Martinez's comment. So if there is anyone interested in this, so tonight's meeting is not a public hearing. So any counselor here will tell you that it is always our tradition to suspend our rules to allow the public to address us. And I saw no reason to do that tonight. I did advise Mr. Gutierrez of this, and at that point he started to balk about the meeting, and I don't want to get between his ears. I don't want to say why, but at that point he started to have concerns. So that's why he decided to back off from attending tonight. Mr. Harrington, I'm not going to recognize you, so you just put your hand down. You're not a counselor, okay? Okay. So I just want the public to know that he sent this email, and that's where we are. But I will find out additional details. As I said, Gladys, I will get that Zoom link if I can, and I will also have Mr. Allen post it to our website. Councilor Murphy.
Yeah. Do we know if we have any of the caregivers or midwives or former caregivers or midwives that are trying to be involved in this meeting?
What you mean tonight's meeting, Terry?
Yes. The order did say to meet with caregivers and midwives about the closure. So, I mean, we're trying to gather information. And I think if one of the reasons we put that invitation, now, obviously there was a lot of thought from some of the people that have worked there previously as to what might be able to be done to change the situation. And I'm just wondering if there is anybody either in the group that's out there in front of me right now or anywhere else that's had the experience and has some suggestions as to maybe what can be done to potentially keep the facility open.
So I'll make a motion to suspend our rules and allow Mr. Allen to address us to answer our questions. You want to second
No,
that?
I didn't.
I think we need a motion to do that, Ryan. So
Okay.
you want to second that motion, somebody?
I second that.
I'll second.
Okay, motion made and second to suspend our rules, allow administrative assistant to address us on this point. On the motion, all in favor? Aye. Ryan, can you address Councilor Murphy's question, please?
Yeah, I can say I didn't invite any of midwives or anybody from there, so they weren't given an invitation.
And just in defense of Mr. Allen, Ryan, were you given any names by the maker of the order or anyone else as specifically or midwives or anybody else?
No, I was not.
Okay, so Councilor Murphy, with an order written like that, it was pretty vague on that sentence. Okay, any other counselor want to address this point before we go back to Counselor Graney?
But is there anyone here that has information? Do we know if
Ryan?
anybody here has information?
Ryan, is there anybody in the waiting room at all relative to this matter?
No, there's not.
Counselor Murphy?
Okay.
All right. Counselor Graney?
Yeah, move to table.
I'll second that.
Motion's made and seconded, not debatable, to table this matter. On the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none. Motion's tabled. Let's see. Sorry for my technical incompetence, but hold on a minute. Oh, boy. Well, I'm getting worse. Let's just go back to regular order if we may. If I could get a motion to take up agenda item 2, please.
Motion to take up item number 2 off the table for discussion.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to take agenda item 2 off the table. On the motion, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Item 2, filed by Councilor Terrence Murphy, 2420, order that the DG&R committee invite Suez project manager Michael Williams to a meeting to discuss their Holyoke operations, including street sweeping, catch basin cleaning, and other issues and services provided within their contract. And I looked on this camera here, and look at there's Mr. Williams right there, and I also see Mr. Burke, Michael Burke. Oh, this is, boy, this is royalty now. I had no idea. Okay, Mr. Williams, welcome, but let me turn it over to the maker of the order, Councilor Murphy. Councilor Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I just introduced this. I've had a few opportunities to work with and meet Mr. Williams, and I just want to say he's been very responsive to any requests that I've made. We've gone through a few things. We've gone around the city and looked at a few things, and I've sent him several communications from constituents as well as communications just from myself, which he has responded to in a relatively, in some cases, a fantastically quick response. I know Councilor Bartley, I think he's met with you on West Glen Street. I just wanted the council to get to know him, but I also want him to be able to explain the kind of schedule they go on in terms of street sweeping, the kind of schedule they have in terms of catch basins and all that kind of thing. And if there are any issues or concerns that he has that he would like to address tonight. So basically it was a chance to give the council a whole introduction, and he is available. And I know I've met with him both in his office and on the street. So
thank you, Councilor Murphy. Mr. Mike Williams, why don't you introduce Mike Burke. Do you want to introduce yourself first, just so everyone knows who you are? Then we'll go to Mr. Williams.
Sure. Yeah, my name's Mike Burke. I work with Suez down at the wastewater treatment plant. I'm currently the Director of Operations for the Northeast. And Mike Williams, the project manager. Mike's been there for a couple of years. I was the previous project manager at the plant. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Burke. Good to see you again. Mr. Williams, welcome.
Thank you for having me. So just to touch base on, the services we provide here in the city of Holyoke in the partnership are catch basin cleaning, street sweepings. We manage the treatment plant, flood control, the IPP program, and in depth we do a lot of those tasks encompass a lot. So there's over 4,000 catch basins in the city of Holyoke, roughly, approximately. There's 120 miles of sewer system and drainage that we maintain. We operate the treatment plant and the largest CSO facility on the Connecticut River. And again, the street sweeping. The schedule for street sweeping, as many of you know already, we start road race and St. Patrick's Day. That's when we jump out right onto that. And then depending on the winter and when snow falls, we sometimes opportunity allows us to jump on right it away. Other times we have to wait till mid-April, depending on the snow and if the roads are clear and ready to go. We typically start with the non-posted areas, West Holyoke, Homestead, some of the Homestead area, and then we move into the Elmwood, the Flats, South Holyoke areas where we have to post, which take a little more time, given the amount of the cars on the streets. We have to post one side to give them a spot to have the ability to park for their homes. So,
Okay, Mr. Williams, thank you. I will echo what Councilor Murphy said. I did meet with Mr. Williams and Mr. Kazowitz a few weeks ago. Very productive and very helpful, very responsive. So I was glad to meet him, and I hope other councilors take up the opportunity. I don't want you to give your number on a Zoom meeting, Mike, but perhaps you can forward your email and your telephone number to Ryan Allen,
yep.
Who's our administrative assistant, and then what Ryan can do is convey that information to the elected officials. But we also know that from our experience, I certainly have one constituent who spent more than a little bit of time in the project manager's office, and I think that constituent lives somewhere near the soldiers' home, and that's paid a lot of dividends to them, and I know that they're most appreciative. In fact, there's another issue that I raised with Councilor McGivern about a month ago, and I'm going to meet on site, I hope this week, or probably next week, with the city engineer, Mr. Parent, and I'm going to invite Mr. Williams to join with, relative to water runoff, that whether it emanates from the soldiers' home or north of the soldiers' home, I have no idea, but it certainly impacts a lot of the streets behind the home, and over by Sterling, and then down Michigan Avenue, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's something I'm grateful Councilor Murphy filed this order, so I got a chance to meet Mr. Williams. Any other councilors want to address Mr. Williams with any questions or concerns? Councilor Tom.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Williams. Thanks for coming down, and I haven't got a chance to meet you, but I'm very familiar with the treatment plan and been down there a couple times. One of my concerns, and you stated a little bit how you're doing the street sweeping. I think Councilor Leahy every year we ask about the scheduling. Is there any way we can get a schedule? The areas you start at, like say during the parade week in March, all the way up to the fall, so we can let our constituents know that their street is going to be soon cleaned?
Yeah, absolutely. We can provide you with a list. It's always weather dependent and also machine breakdowns and failures, but we do have a tentative schedule for the duration of the street sweeping, of the annual street sweeping, and we can provide that to you guys.
Do you usually go by the streets? You do it once a year, or do you do it twice a year?
We do all the mains and inlets of the city and downtown area weekly, and then we sweep all of the sides at least once annually. There are certain streets that do get second and third sweepings based on high traffic areas or known prone flood areas due to basin cloggings, bottoms of hills and such.
Okay, and you said you do the mains and downtown weekly?
That's, yeah, we try to get out there Mondays and Wednesdays.
Okay, and how many vehicles do you have to work with?
We have 2 street sweepers.
Are they both in good shape?
They are currently both operating in good operating condition.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Graney, did I hear your voice?
No, sir.
Okay, sorry, Howie. Councilor Murphy.
Yeah, just one, and I think this is something that you've done, Mike, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but I know down on 391 where we have some of the homeless out on the island, I think you provide them with a trash outlet, if I'm right. Some kind of recycling bin or something that's out there. Is that something you provide, or?
That's not us. I believe that's Mike McManus. I would have to ask him if that's something the city provides, but that is not us. Maybe it's Casella as potentially, but not us.
Yeah, the one underneath 391 was put out by Casella.
Okay. Is there that first of all, I appreciate the try to get it. So is there a possibility that I mean, I know what they have right now is overflown. It hasn't been emptied. I don't know when the last time it was emptied. So it's nice that they put something there, but then somebody's got to come and make sure it gets picked up. So, and I don't know if we do that for other areas where we have, I mean, I do know the people that are on the island do tend to throw things in there, but right now it's all overflown. So if we can, Mike, if you could have somebody.
Yeah, We have done that in the past. We've had a barrel up at the Holyoke Mall. We had one outside of Lynch. And we've seen with time, those other two weren't being used as much. So we took them back down.
I mean, if it helps with litter, number one, and obviously if they're kind of conscientious enough to do it, that's a good sign. So, all right, whatever you can do in terms of getting that one on 391 picked up, I'd appreciate it, Mike. Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks, Mr. Brett. Mr. Chairman.
Any other, Councilor Tallman, you have your hand up, but I think you're all set. So
I'm all
if you
set, thank you.
can just lower that, so
Yep.
don't confuse me, Peter.
I won't.
You're easily confused. Let's see. I don't see any other counselors with their hands up. Councilor Graney is set. Councilor Murphy, it's an excellent order. Mr. Williams, Mr. Burke, I greatly appreciate you being here and spending your Monday evening with us. You know how thrilling it is. And so with that, Councilor Murphy, do you want to make a motion?
Well, I can't make a motion.
Make a motion, the item.
Oh, that's right. You were one of my favorite committee members. I apologize, Councilor Murphy. Councilor Tallman, would you make a motion?
First time you ever told me that.
I'll make a motion.
Well, you know, you know what, Councilor Murphy, that's a mistake of the head, not a mistake of the heart. Okay, just want you to know that you're always in my heart. Councilor Tallman.
I'll make a motion that the item number 2 from Councilor Murphy has been complied with.
Second.
Motion made and seconded that agenda item 2 is complied with. A discussion, hearing none on the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion complied with. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for inviting us. And again, we'd like to open the invite to anybody like to come down to the treatment plant, and any issues, come on down. We're glad to have you here.
Oh, we did that a few years ago. Councilor Tallman was there. We had a nice tour. I would definitely take up on that again.
Great. See you
Okay,
soon.
thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks. Have a good night.
Okay, I'll take a motion to take number 3 off the table, please.
Motion to take item number 3 off the table for discussion.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to take up agenda item 3 on the motion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Agenda item 3, Councilor McGee, 6/16/20 order. This is a second request that the city council be provided the contracts the city has with the renting out of the former tax collector's office to Mass DOT, the order approving the moving of the personnel department to the Annex, and the school department contract/order approving the cafe in City Hall. I do not see Councilor President McGee on this. Mr. Allen, do we have any updates?
I have a question, Councilor Bartley.
Councilor Graney is recognized.
The schools, I know this may not be related, but the schools, I requested that they send us a copy of all the administrators and their salaries, and the principals and vice principals and their salaries in the school system, and I have yet to hear from that. So just as an aside, I was wondering if it would be appropriate for us to request it formally.
Okay, so Councilor Graney, you have every right to make a motion to amend this order, but I don't know what's going to happen with this order right now. So let's just hold that thought for right now, Councilor Graney, and then we'll proceed from there. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Any other? I see Mr. McManus's hand up, but we'll suspend it in a second, Mike. So, but I don't see any of the councilors. So I'll make a motion to suspend the rules to allow Mr. McManus to address us on the motion.
Second that.
Well, I gotta get a second.
Second.
On the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. Mr. McManus, please.
So the only part of that order that I can talk to is the Mass DOT usage of the office space. And there isn't a contract between the city and DOT to use that space. As part of the Dwight Front and Heritage Street project, DOT required an office space for its construction inspectors to use while the project was going on. Usually the contractor has to provide some sort of trailer, some sort of space, whether it's it's rented office space to house DOT. And that project, as we were getting through final design and then, final design with DOT, we were very, very tight on the project budget. And we were looking at ways that we could reduce the project budget. The project was being funded through a MassWorks grant. It was being funded through the through the TIP program, the Massachusetts Transportation Improvement Project funds, where the Pioneer Valley gets about $20 million every year to spread out on large construction projects. And this project had been in the queue to be awarded some money. And also our Chapter 90 money is being used as the final catch-all. Once the MassWorks and the TIP funds are spent, then we have to dip into Chapter 90. So we were looking at a really tight budget, going over budget, and I wanted to preserve as much Chapter 90 funds as possible. So we looked at ways that we could value engineer things out of the project. Some things like parking meters, new parking meters were part of the project. We removed those because we have existing parking meters. But this office space was one of the things that we identified that we could remove from the project if we provided Mass DOT with office space somewhere close to the project. And we looked at City Hall, we looked at the Annex. We were even looking down at our DPW building, and we'd estimated that we could save around $40,000. That was the estimate at the time if we gave Mass DOT some room somewhere. And that office was the space that got picked. It was really unused space at the time. It would probably be unused space all along. And in a couple of months, when the project's over and DOT's gone, it'll be unused space again. So we talked with DOT. We said, hey, if we give you the space, would that be sufficient? They looked at it. They said yes, and we removed it from the project. And project went forward. Construction started. DOT moved in, and that's really the story. There wasn't any contract. There's no rent being exchanged. They're just using the space.
Thank you, Mike. I'll address that in a second, but Councilor Sullivan, did you ever hand up, Mike? It went down.
Yeah, I did, but Mike answered my question right at the very end. So there was no contract, there was no rent being paid. So,
and with the rent, if we were collecting rent, we would have to collect the rent from the contractor, from Gagliarducci. And Gagliarducci would then just send us a bill for the rent after marking it up.
So Mike McManus, I appreciate that. But the simple fact is that the city council has an ordinance, which, it's a law that I proposed and we approved. So it's a law, Mike, that all use of any public building has to be pre-approved by the city council. So a proposal might be from DPW Mass DOT to let out the space for $0. So that argument that you just made is a wonderful argument, and I'll bet anything that any counselor in this, well, there's no counselors in this room besides me, but it is nice to be back in City Hall. But I'll bet any counselor on this meeting and elected would have approved that based upon that argument. So there's money to be saved. We're using a space that heretofore has been kept vacant. I think your argument is probably valid, that it won't be used thereafter, but that's for other reasons that are beyond the scope of this meeting. And so the fact is that stuff just happens in rooms all around this building, and that's not how it works, Mike. So no slight on you. I'm just saying for future, I mean, the barn's out, you know, the horses are out of the barn right now. Just things happen, and city council gets trampled on again. But that's, you know, that'll be that'll be now, Mike. But for the future, you will know this, that this needs pre-approval from city council. I'll leave it there. So okay. Mr. McManus, by your comment, I take it you have no intel on the personnel department to the annex?
The only thing I know about that is the personnel department works with the city solicitor quite frequently, and the move was to one, get them closer to the solicitor to facilitate their work, and also provide them with a space where they could have interviews. But outside of that, I've got no knowledge about that move.
Well, you've already added to the discussion more than we knew. And then I know we had a discussion relative to the school department with the cafe, because that's an order I filed. I don't know, over a year ago, and I think that's been asked and answered, but still we've never seen any kind of an agreement at all between the school department and in fact, I brought up at last year's budget time to Mr. Soto. It's, you know, we're not making any money, and we're doing it as a service. Okay, you still have to have an agreement, but nothing came forward, and so that's where we are. So I'll leave it at the pleasure of the body. What would you do at this point?
Councilor Bartley.
Oh, there's Council. I think I hear.
President.
I think I hear our fearless leader.
I'm on call in. I don't have a screen today. So.
Okay, which number? What are your last four digits, Todd?
It's 5895.
5895. Okay, so Ryan will update that on the screen so people watching and me. I'll know. So, Councilor McGee, this is your order. What's your pleasure, sir?
Yeah, so I was dialing in. I was in the waiting room, and Ryan got me in finally, and I appreciate that. And I did send off Mike's communication to have everyone have it for this meeting. Everything he said was in that communication with regards to the DOT. With regards to the cafe downstairs, school committee member Devin Sheehan sent me an email saying that he knows of no contract and has seen no contract with regards to that space down there on their side. So I don't think there is one.
No, there's not. We know that.
Yeah. And then the HR department, the reason I brought that up is, and I understand the reason that they wanted to. They want to be closer to legal, and that all made sense. But the problem was there was no approval through our side, as you pointed out, with regards to our ordinance, as well as the records appear to still be in City Hall downstairs, which used to be across from HR. Now HR is over in a different building where the records are. You know, sometimes the door's open, sometimes it's not. So I'm not sure if they're totally secure, but then really access to HR. We all know the building of the annex has its problems, and you know that to me, is it really being handicap accessible or accessible to HR for anyone who wants to go there? And that led me to file this order to one, who approved it, didn't come to our side to see it, and how we adjusting for people who want to have access to that department. Still have yet to get those answers. Okay, keep going.
Mr. President?
Councilor Grady is recognized. Oh, sorry,
Yeah,
Joe, hold on. Howie, hold that thought. Councilman McGivern, I just saw your hand up. Councilman McGivern, go ahead.
Thank you, Councilor Bartley. Just a couple thoughts on the DOT. I'm glad rent is not an issue, because I think Mike gave a satisfactory answer as far as it being kind of an in-kind service to save some money on a Chapter 90s monies. But I think we do need a contract for liability purposes, because DOT is not part of city government to be in the building so regular. Ironically, with DOT, the city owned One Cabot Street many years ago, and I remind everyone, when DOT rented space from the tenant of One Cabot Street, who seemed to act like they were the owner of One Cabot Street. We brought it to that DOT's attention. They continued to pay rent, but not to the city of Holyoke, which I find kind of ironic, but I think all is said and done as long as we have a contract to cover ourselves. The cafeteria downstairs, I did a little looking into it. It is a good service, not just for the city and for employees of the city, but the courts. A lot of people in the court system, a lot of other people that work downtown do use it. My understanding is that vendor is actually the public schools food vendor themselves that provides food throughout the schools with the cafeterias. So I know there's a contract for them to provide food within the schools. I think that just needs to be modified to include City Hall, and again, to make sure the liability insurance is there to cover it. Thank you.
Councilor Graney?
Yes, I was just going to question on that, the cafe too. If it's provided by the school department, wouldn't that be a situation in the city where the concessionaire would have to go out to bid if there were any local businesses that might want to run that cafe downstairs? Or is it just carte blanche that the school department takes over and runs it?
Definitely not carte blanche. No question about it. Should have been bid to should have been, because now it's in a public space is being used by a private vendor, an international conglomerate, for nothing. Now I get that people eat there. No kidding. We know they eat there, but there's no contract. There's no income. There's no liability protection. So there you go, Howie.
Well, that seems to be contrary to what our rules and regulations and ordinances are, isn't it?
Yeah, it seems to be that way. I agree. Councilor Murphy.
Councilor Bartley, just again.
Hold on, Councilor McGee. Hold on,
Councilor McGee go, and then I'll go after.
Okay, we're going over Councilor McGee.
All right, thank you. And I think Joe touched on it. When we did that 5-year contract for Sodexo we gave the permission through the ordinance to go past 3 years to do 5 years for their food contract. Mm-hmm. The discussion at the time was they were going to look to provide a space in City Hall, which is what they've done to the cafe, which is fine. I don't think anyone disagrees with that. But as this council has said time and time again, is you need the contract, not because we want to micromanage, but because of liability purposes. You have to put things in writing to make sure we're protecting the city as well. And that's why, I kept filing this order, and I know Councilor Bartley has filed it. It's not to pick on anyone. It's to make sure we're in compliance with the rules so that the city doesn't get sued. And I think that's where people are missing the mark on not getting back to us for whatever reason.
Councilor Murphy.
Yeah, I agree with what Councilor McGee and Councilor McGivern said. I have no problem with someone providing the food, but I do have a problem with a for-profit entity having free access in City Hall and the city not making any. I know when I was at the college, I was part of running the vending machines and things along that lines. And we always made sure that the college got its fair share out of the vending situation. And I think the same kind of situation should be here. Sodexo shouldn't be here providing a service, making a profit without providing some reimbursement to the city. So I would really suggest that we do go and say, let's put a contract together, send it to the city council. I'm sure if it's a reasonable contract, we would go along with it. But I don't think we should allow it to continue if they don't have a contract.
Mr. President?
You mean Chairman? I don't give me a promotion, Howie. Howie, go ahead.
Okay, Mr. Chairman. I just to agree with what Councilor Murphy said, there should be a contract, and we should know all the details of it, and we should also have a statement of whether there are profits and losses and everything else that go along with it. That's the way to do business. Thank you.
Okay, any other? Let's see, I've got so many people in this meeting. I got to scroll the. Oh my God! I don't see. I see Councilor Sullivan with his hand up. Councilor Sullivan.
Oh, that was a mistake.
Councilor Sullivan, don't be doing that to me. And you just put your hand up again. Are you busting my chops now? Is that what you're doing?
No, it's a damn city computer. So.
That's right, Mike. Don't take ownership of it.
Yeah, I can't get it.
I'll just assume you'll wave your hand.
Why don't you get a city computer? I got my own.
He's got connections.
They gave it to me at the start of this pandemic. There we go.
Councilor McGee, what's your pleasure at this point?
I mean, I think with regards to Mass DOT, we got our answer, but I think we still have to get things, put in order to make sure it's done correctly. So I'd say table it until people provide the contracts that are needed for everything that we talked about.
Okay, so Ryan, you're with us, I know. Ryan, I'm gonna make a motion in a second that you contact who should Ryan contact relative Todd relative to the personnel department?
I think for the personnel department, we can reach out to Hector to see who approved it, if there was something from wherever, an email. My thing is, I'll follow up with that. I want to make sure on the contracts, that would be the legal department as to getting those put in order right away.
Okay, so I will just take it one at a time. So I'm going to make a motion that Ryan, our administrative assistant, reach out to the personnel director to ascertain the status of who ordered what and how, and as an addition to that order, and Ryan, I hope you're getting this. In addition to that order, the administrative assistant reach out to the law department relative to the issues. I see Attorney Barnes here. Oh, well, let me hold up my order. Motion to suspend the rules and allow Attorney Barnes to address the committee.
A second.
Should be a second to allow the law department to address this on the motion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Crystal, hello. How are you? And fire away.
So I did ask for a contract very early on. Well, not early on. There was a lot of talk of the cafe long before I got involved. As you know, and everyone's well aware, the law department had turnover for quite some time. So it was a revolving door of attorneys that were sitting in on the discussions about the cafe. When I got to it, I asked for a contract similar to what Councilor McGee said. I wanted the liability issues resolved. I was told that it was part of the catering discussion with the school contract. I've asked to see that part of the contract. Unfortunately, I mean, I reached out later in this week to Mr. Soto asking for a copy of the contract so I could see what that language looked like. As other counselors have mentioned, it was discussed as part of the school contract that they would have a location. My concern with the contract was mostly liability. The rest of it is pretty much squared away with their overall school contract as far as a location, providing this service, et cetera. From what I heard, there was another location many moons ago, I want to say on Suffolk Street. They had a little cafe over there somewhere. So it's not a new idea. They've done this before. It's just a different location. But I wanted to ensure that if there was spoiled food or something happened, that we would be covered, considering it's City Hall. To no avail, unfortunately. I've asked for that contract. I don't know if that's something that we want to ask someone from the school to come in and discuss, but I know Board of Health and Building Department, we all had numerous emails of lengthy concerns that were all addressed as far as making sure that there was adequate staff, adequate hand washing, adequate ability to keep cleanliness at bay, and everybody was at least satisfied with all of those concerns. I do know that they don't intend on reopening the cafe, so I don't know if it's a moot point at this time. So I don't know if this is all just kind of falling on deaf ears anyways, but just to put that out there, that I did ask for a contract, certainly for the liability issues. The other part about personnel, I've shot an email over to Hector already in light of all of your concerns tonight as to what they're able to do about the public getting access or employees getting access to their office, if there should be some sort of disability requirement or handicap requirement. You can get access to the annex fully from top to bottom. It is handicap accessible. You have to access it from the very first floor, which is across from the courthouse entrance. But I don't know if they're able to meet people in other locations. what the case with that may be. I know that the privacy in their old office was a major concern, that they weren't able to have private conversations because the way their office was situated, it was kind of in the middle of the finance department. So they are able to handle that much better now. Plus they're able to contact us. To my knowledge, there was no reach out to move. I don't know where the disconnect was there. I don't know how well everybody knows every ordinance, so it may have just been an oversight, but I have reached out as far as if he can explain, some of his access to his office to hopefully alleviate some concerns.
Okay, well, there's a lot there to chew on, but I'll leave it to other counselors. Want to address Attorney Barnes at this point?
Yeah.
I'm trying to see if anybody's their hand up. I don't see anybody with their hand up at this point. Nobody is waving at me at this point that I can tell. Okay, so I guess there's still some outstanding questions. Crystal, let me just look at my notes here. Okay, so it sounds like we're, if I may, Todd, it sounds like we're okay to a point with Mass DOT, but to Councilor McGivern's point, there still should be something in writing relative to liability. It sounds like we're getting closer to okay with the school department because that's a moot point, though I wish Attorney Barnes would still address that, and Attorney Barnes at some point is going to have to address the question of whether she can issue a cease and desist, because I didn't hear that raised by her, but I'd be amazed if she didn't have the authority and Ms. McManus could have locked the doors, padlocked the doors. I would think that that would be a possibility too, but I didn't hear those solutions raised, but perhaps they could consider that because I'm positive that this will happen again. And then the other question, it sounds like the only part that's outstanding with the personnel department are the liability and then who actually made the call. As to Attorney Barnes' point about people being familiar or not familiar with ordinances, come on. Come on, that don't cut it. So, and we've gone over this more than once. So, that's, ignorance of the law is no defense. I think that's pretty much law school 101. So, so that's, that one doesn't float. But to that point, so Mr. McGee, are you still wanting this to be tabled?
If we could, to kind of button things up to make sure that we're in compliance with stuff.
Okay, and Attorney Barnes, you pretty much heard the gist of the meeting, and you've been taking copious notes, and you can also have this tape to rely on. You pretty well understand the quote unquote marching orders, and you can circle back to us, or Mr. Allen.
Sure. I guess my question with Mike McManus would be when DOT plans to be done with the space.
Mike?
I know it's in a couple months now. They should be done with everything by the end of this calendar year.
Okay.
I don't have a specific date though, but I can find something out and get that to you, Crystal.
That's fine.
Okay, so it sounds like it's still relevant. Okay, I think we got as far as we can on this one. I'll accept the motion to table, I guess.
I'll make a motion to table.
And motion's made and seconded to table, non-debatable on the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
None opposed. Okay, motion is tabled. Thank you, one and all. On that one, that was a good discussion, and I know Ryan will connect with Crystal on this, and we'll get to the bottom of the matters. If I could get a motion to take item 5 off the table, that'd be wonderful.
Motion to take item number 5 off the table for discussion.
Second.
Motion's made and second to remove agenda item 5 off the table for purposes of discussion. On the motion, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Item 5, open meeting law complaint filed for the meeting that took place 4/21/20. We have with us Counselor Bacon. And Counselor? You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So on May 14th, I filed the document which everyone has a copy of. Most attention was paid to the details of the complaint, but also within this document were the proposed resolutions, which have not gotten as much attention. So I would just like to bring forth to this committee that one of the items, because of the way that the Finance Committee agenda had been posted, didn't really give public access relative to, and that's not discounting the fact that there had been public opportunity at a previous meeting. Nonetheless, I think because of the COVID and the unfamiliarity with technology, et cetera, we didn't achieve what I believe to be our goal of assuring public access, COVID or no COVID. And so I'm not sure, given the whole COVID situation, what is even going on with the Department of Education, but it would seem to me that we will have an opportunity to revisit that issue of the SOI. And I would like to see that happen. To my knowledge, and I believe folks in the room know this, that the other meetings of all of our committees have been posted in the traditional and proper way since that time. So it seems to me that item 2 has been met. And I've noted that recently the Zoom access number has been made available, such as for this meeting tonight. And I'm very happy to see that. And I think that that is giving us the public access that was being sought. For item 3, the notion of holding committee meetings in council chambers as soon as possible with safety measures in place, and city council to complete the review of the open meeting law. I believe this has been done by a number of employees of the city. And I encourage us to hold the regular meetings in chambers as the new updates have been provided by the governor, that except for in the case of a public hearing where many attendees were expected, where we would exceed that new regulation, I think in general, we would be able to safely and properly hold the committee meetings. Relative to the city council, I know that Councilor Greenie has filed a separate order relative to holding our city council meetings in a larger space where we could meet the now updated guidance from our governor, and also to be able to safely assure public access. And I would encourage the committee, as part of this, to resolve this matter, to consider his order and perhaps put that into an operational situation relative to public meetings and public access. And so if we were to roll an additional order into consideration by this committee, we could consider it under item 4 that would allow an other action that's not specifically stated here to do that. But I just want to say that I'm pleased to see that recently our clerk is looking at some new software to make things a little bit more efficient. And she has let me know that she's going to make an effort to put the Zoom contact information directly onto the city council agenda instead of in that packet form on the website that was not very recognizable by the public if someone was interested in doing that. And so I think all those things have gone a long way to resolving this. And I thank the committee for their attention to this matter. That's all I have.
Good.
Okay, thank you, Counselor Bacon. Before I entertain a motion, do counselors want to address this in any way? I don't see counselors with a hand up yet. Attorney Barnes, your hand is up. Did you want to address us on this point?
No, that's my mistake.
See, everybody's confusing me, and they're doing it on purpose. Okay, so let's see here. I don't see any other counselors waving at me or, oh, I see Counselor McGivern. Counselor McGivern. Counselor McGivern, you're muted.
I'm sorry, I got the blue hand up. I missed the mute. The letter that was written on behalf of the full city council by our city solicitor, will that be discussed this evening?
Yeah, you want to discuss it? Go ahead.
Well, I just, I think the full city council adopted it, and I'm wondering if we've sent the response to the Attorney General.
Attorney Barnes?
I did raise my hand on purpose this time. I have not sent it. You all did not want to send it yet, so I need it approved so that I can send it and finalize our obligations.
I would suggest that we send the letter to the Attorney General, documenting the majority of the City Council's response.
Where does that letter sit right now? Is that tabled in full City Council? Ryan, anybody?
I believe it is, or it was to be discussed tonight. I mean, I assume that was why it was on your agenda.
No, well, what's on the agenda is the open meeting law allegation. So that's the only thing on the agenda. But this is a part of it. So this could reasonably been brought up, and I don't feel bad about it. But I did not. I don't know where this is. I don't remember this being forwarded to. At least I don't have it in my jacket. And I mean,
if I could, Mr. Chairman.
Councilor McGivern.
I understand the confusion, but if you look at page 1 of the open meeting law violation request, it documents that the body can so choose the city solicitor or someone to write up a response on their behalf. I believe that's what took place at the city council level. That letter was presented at the meeting when this was referred to your committee. I guessed that it was attached to the original, but perhaps that's not the way it worked.
Okay, at this point, we probably missed our deadline. So, Crystal, it says here under number 4, bullet 4, if a public body requires more time to review the complaint and respond, it may request an extension of time for good cause by contacting the Division of Open Government. Was that done, Crystal?
No, sir, it was not.
All right. Okay. Well, probably.
Assuming the complainant doesn't have an issue, I don't think there is an issue. We can simply file it and be done with it.
Okay. Let's just see here.
Mr. Chairman.
Sorry, Linda. I went to another screen. Councilor Bacon, please.
Thank you. So what I'm seeking is that within that letter, the resolutions that are stated on the form that I submitted would be included as part of that letter.
Okay, fair enough. I don't think that's unreasonable, but I want to hear from other committee members. So I'll just remind other committee members what. Oh golly, where's my? I'll tell you, it's like a 3-ring circus here.
Really?
Okay, so I think Councilor Bacon is saying that there were 4, well, basically three solid suggestions, and the fourth one is kind of amorphous. But so post the agenda item to the Finance Committee meeting in 4/21 with proper notice and okay. 2, post future meetings of the Finance Committee and the CC in a legal manner, include the Zoom access number when held remotely. Okay. Hold committee meetings in council chambers as soon as possible, safety measures. CC complete a review of the open meeting law. Okay. And consider any other action that good government requires. Okay. I mean, those are all pretty reasonable. Any member wanted to make a comment on that or have a concern? Anybody have their hand up? Councilor McGee, your hand's still up. Were you that from last time?
Just on item number 1, the finance committee meeting was properly noticed on that meeting. I think we've already determined that. So that item number 1 doesn't need to be added to the letter. As far as future finance committee, as far as future any committee meetings, I think we're all posted through the clerk's office, and I don't think there's been any issues with that. I like the new software that the clerk has come out with. I think it's going to be a big change for us, a big change for people who want to know what we're going to be discussing and what's going on. I can't wait to get back into chambers like you are tonight with Councilor Bartley. Unfortunately, those numbers still aren't in our favor. It's 8 to 9 people per 1,000 square feet are allowed, no more than 25 people in any one enclosed room. Now, when there's 13 of us, plus an assistant, plus a city clerk, that's not too bad. I think we may have 1,000 feet in the room, square feet. I'm not sure. But the minute the door opens, we could be in violation of the governor's executive order. So I think for the safety of the issue of the COVID pandemic, we got to adhere to the governor's executive order and not do anything until do those changes, which we all know could change within an hour. Could have changed last hour, I'm not sure. But it's, I can't wait myself, but I think we're just not quite there.
Mr. Chairman?
Oh, hold on, let me go to the screen. Councilor Bacon.
So I would just note that by including these things in the resolution and saying that they are being done and that they will be done as soon as possible does resolve the matter. Thank you.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, Joe, you should see all the plexiglass up between all the desks over here now. It's amazing. Like there's a plexiglass in front of the president's. Yes, it's really cool, Joe. Yeah,
how do we walk behind each other with 6 feet?
Just like the food store.
Yeah.
The store's one way.
Mr. Chairman, one way in and one way out.
We can do that.
Right. The only thing we're missing is a little stickers about keeping 6 foot distance. I don't see that on the on this beautiful carpet. By the way, you'll be glad to know it's still the same carpet. I know you're all going to be happy to hear that.
Yeah, I was vacuumed a year and a half ago, right?
Oh, that recent? I didn't know that. Okay, that's good to know. Okay, Councilor Tallman has his hand up.
Yes, I think if the city solicitor could send that letter, and I know you said it's late, when she stated she would file it with those 4 items, I think, it sounds like as Councilor Bacon would be happy with that if they could still send it in, and that would resolve the issue with those 4 items. But when she said she would file it, did she mean she sent it to the state, or is she just going to file it in law department's files?
We have to send it to the Attorney General's office.
Okay, could that be done still, even though it's late?
Yes, yes.
Okay, I think that's a great, I think that would solve the problem.
Well, if I may, I kind of liked what Councilor McGee said. I think it made a heck of a lot of sense. This computer, this is ridiculous. Okay, so, well, never mind my complaining here, but I think Councilor McGivern raised some points about, I think we're good to go on 1, so we can kind of hold off on that. I think Councilor Bacon tends to agree with that. I think numbers 2 and 3 and really 4 should be added to the letter. Attorney Barnes, does that sound like a hold on, Councilor Leahy. Does that sound like a potential something you could potentially if we assuming we pass that order that motion now, is that something that you might be able to add to the letter, Attorney Barnes, and then maybe get us a copy prior to the August 4th meeting?
Yes, I mean, a majority of those are already in the letter. As far as posting appropriately, we have a whole criteria of how to go about public meetings that the final copy was sent around to most not council members, but department heads, etc. today, I believe. So a lot of that is in the letter. I mean, it's drafted a little differently. The only thing I think that's not in there would be returning to city council chambers as soon as possible, which is, I mean, I can simply add that.
And you could probably add the fact that we had a discussion on July 20th. I don't think that's unreasonable too.
That's fine.
Okay, Councilor Leahy has his hand up. Councilor, please.
Yeah, good evening, David. It's nice sitting across the table from you. I apologize for being late for your meeting. However, I was at the school committee's Zoom meeting as well. It was a very important meeting in regards to the school department canceling the high school graduation. So I wanted to make sure my comments were heard. However, having said that, so I do apologize for being late to this meeting. Can I just ask a question to the chair? Why was the letter not submitted? If there's a time frame, how come we didn't meet that time frame?
Council, I'll just step in for Attorney Barnes. So Attorney Barnes is aware of the deadlines, is what she advised us. But since there didn't seem to be an objection by the complainant, who would be the Ward 5 councilor, that we and the fact that we were slated, that we put this in committee, which we are right now, we kind of came to a kumbaya moment. But you're right, it should have been, or as we discussed, Councilor Leahy, that a request for an extension that should have probably been submitted in lieu of the actual letter pending this July 20th meeting. But the complainant seems to be satisfied where we are right now. So that's kind of where we left it. Okay, Jim?
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Councilor Bacon and Councilor Attorney Barnes, if you want to clarify anything I just said, please do.
I'm all set. Thank you.
The deadline for drafting the letter and everything was complete. The city council wanted to make amendments, which is why the deadline was missed. That was the only issue there.
Yeah, I think the only thing that Councilor Leahy is saying, maybe there should have been an extension, but whatever. I think we're all good. We're on the same page. So I think Councilor. Okay, Councilor Graney, sorry.
Yeah, just quickly as an aside, I don't want to be cynical, but I filed that order to seek a larger hall to have the public meetings. I think it was back in late March after the COVID virus struck. So March, April, May, June, July, and apparently we're having some trouble finding a venue. I guess the wheels of government are moving a tad slowly. Thank you.
Yeah, Ryan, Mr. Allen, Ryan, was Councilor Graney's order, was that sent to this committee?
I'm not sure, Dave. I don't really know right off the bat.
Yeah, and how, if it was, that's completely my fault for not posting if it was, but I didn't see it in the jacket when I met with Ryan to prep this meeting, and if I missed it, that's on me, nobody else. And I apologize, because it would have made sense to have them both before us now, and I just don't have it in the jacket. And but Ryan, prior to the August 4th meeting, can you just email myself and Councilor Graney and just advise where that order rests, and then perhaps we can pull it out of the jacket on August 4th, okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, sorry, Howie. It's probably in this committee. I missed it.
I just wasn't sure. I believe we sent it. I believe the full council voted to send it, but I'm not sure if it was ever sent.
Yeah, I think that's my fault. Okay, Councilor Tallman, did you want to make a motion at this point?
Yeah, could we make a motion to send a letter to the Attorney General with behalf of the council?
And did you want to reference just to make sure we reference points 2, 3, and 4 in Councilor Bacon's recommendations?
Right, if she's okay with that, the 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah, I think Councilor McGivern raised a good point about 1. I think that's
right.
Yeah.
Done and dusted. Okay. So the motion is, and I'm going to second that. So a motion's made and seconded to request the law department amend its letter to add points 2, 3, and 4 in the recommendation, and to also add just a little line that we met here in committee. I mean, just sort of make the letter a little more up to date. And that the law department send a copy of that to the city council in preparation for its August 4th meeting. Is there any discussion on that motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Council Bacon.
I just want to make a clarification relative to number 4, because that's where I was trying to roll in Councilor Greeny's order relative to using a larger space where we could do the one way in, one way out and meet the safety guidelines to hold the meetings in public. Thank you.
So we'll just amend that motion to include the spirit of Councilor Greeny's order, which I think all of us understand, but basically just for the record's sake, and Mr. Allen gets this all correct, and Attorney Barnes, the spirit of his order was that the city council meet in a space large enough to accommodate the council and also to alleviate the concerns of the epidemic. Is that fair, Howie?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so do I have a second on that amended motion?
Second.
Okay, that motion is made, and so the amended motion is made and seconded, is before us. Is there any further discussion on the amended motion? I see no hands on the amended motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries. Okay, so there. Wow, that was a mouthful. We're not repeating it. So just play the tape back. Lord. Okay, so let's get
Thank you. Thank you all very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Linda.
Councilor, for being here. Okay. Okay, oh, wow, we've got some excitement before us now. We've got, let's see what time it is. It's 7:45. Okay, we're not doing too bad, Peter. We're not doing bad.
Doing great. Great job, running right along.
Okay. Because of, boy, I could do this. Let's just stay in regular order. I don't want to screw up the system. Okay, if I could get a motion to take number 6 off the table and to open the public hearing.
A motion to take item 6 off the table for discussion and open the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded to remove item number 6 from the table and to open a public hearing on the aforesaid motion. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. Item 6, public hearing, 12120. Yikes. Special permit applications for Holyoke Landing LLC for 1, a drive-through facility, and then parentheses, bank-drive-up teller and ATMs. Number 2, a drive-through facility, and in parentheses, coffee shop / fast food. And number 3, a drive-through facility, parentheses, fast casual / fast food on Lower Westfield Road, map and block, et cetera, but basically it abuts to the south, the property effectively known as the Pier 1 building, though Pier 1 may have gone the way of the dodo bird, unfortunately. So let us see here. Mr. Allen, are you with me? Ryan.
No.
Ryan?
Mr. Soley, I'm actually here.
Can you just repeat that? I couldn't hear you, Dave.
Mr. Soley, you're not recognized, but you will be, I promise you. You just spend a minute right there. Ryan, are you there?
Yep, right here, Dave. What's
Okay,
going
Ryan,
on?
who is with us representing the proponent?
I believe it could be Kevin Soley, but I'm not sure.
Okay, Mr. Soley. Okay, Mr. Soley, I'm just going to say a quick. Is there anyone here accompanying you on this petition?
No, I'll be speaking on behalf of the applicant this evening.
Okay, and we aren't a public hearing, but I just want to get a sense. Ryan, is there anyone in the waiting room or in this meeting right now who is from the public relative to this exact order?
I'm not sure, but there is nobody in the waiting room. So anybody who is in here, there's nobody in the waiting room right now.
Okay. All right.
Sir?
All right. Did somebody say sir?
Yes. My name is Patrick Provost, and I am a butter to that parcel that they wish a permit
Okay,
for.
Mr. Provost, hold on a minute. Where are you, Mr. Provost? What's the last 4 digits of your telephone number, Mr. Provost?
My phone number is 413-539-4781.
Okay, 4781 is what I heard. Ryan,
Yes.
Ryan, okay, there it is. Thank you, Ryan. Okay. Mr. Provost, your first name is Patrick?
Yes.
Okay, so Mr. Provost, stand by. I will get to the public hearing portion in due course, but I'm glad you're here, but just thank you for your patience. Ryan, could you just mute Mr. Provost, please? Thank you. All right, so Mr. Provost, I know you can hear me, but we cannot hear you. We're just gonna ask you to sort of stand by, and we will recognize you in short order. Oh, okay, this is fun, Joe. I gotta say, this is just a bowl of cherries doing this online. Bowl of cherries. I can't get enough. All right, Mr. Soley. Mr. Soley, you have the floor, sir. Why don't you tell us what is on behalf of whom and what is happening here, please?
Sure. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, members of the board. For the record, my name is Kevin Soley. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of Massachusetts with Soley Engineering. Office is located at 351 Newbury Street in Boston, Massachusetts. I'm going to share my screen if that's possible, because I do have a presentation I wanted to run through for the board.
Can't you do the dog first?
But it looks like the host disabled participant screen sharing. I'm not sure if that's something they could modify for me.
Ryan can do that because we've done that before. Ryan, can you deal with that?
Ryan can add Mr. Sully as a host, and then he can do it.
I'm completely powerless in this. So, Ryan?
Yeah,
Mr. Soley, why don't, instead of us spinning our wheels, why don't you, even though we don't have a visual, why don't you at least walk us through orally as best you can while Mr. Allen is working on this here screen deal.
Sure thing. Well, one, I just want to thank you again for scheduling this meeting and having us on. Obviously, in the age of COVID, we're adapting, everything's changing. We actually made this application back in January, and we greatly appreciate the opportunity to discuss this with the board this evening. So thank you for that. So the site in question is located on Lower Westfield Road and Holyoke Street. The site's right across the street from Holyoke Crossing. It was essentially a surplus parking lot for the mall that was constructed in approximately 1992, 1993. And it's kind of stayed as a basically vacant parking lot since that time. I'll admit I'm a little bit thrown off my game without having some visuals, but I'll do my best to walk through this. So the site itself is approximately 11.5 acres. We're looking to utilize approximately 4.5 acres or so of parking lot, and our project has been designed to stay within those existing limits of disturbance. So we are not really expanding beyond the existing paved area that exists on the site today. We are proposing the construction of 3 buildings for a total of 27,800 square feet of new commercial space. As part of our application, obviously, we're before this board seeking approval for 3 different drive-through facilities, 3 different special permits. We've been working with staff.
Yeah, Mr. Soley, everybody just froze in time, but now we're back moving again. Proceed. You were at the Montez Square space. And Mr. Soley, just so you feel comfortable, I'm going to suggest to you that there's not one person in this meeting just who moved into Holyoke yesterday. So we're very familiar with a lot, and thank you for almost pronouncing Holyoke correctly. You're coming darn close every time you say it. Go ahead.
Okay. So we're proposing the construction of 3 buildings with a total of 27,800 square feet. with 190 parking spaces. And as part of our site design, we do have a proposed drive-through on each of those buildings. Especially now in the age of COVID, the need for drive-throughs has become even more apparent than it was previously. You know, especially with everything that's going on and the need for kind of essential services and things like that, the need for drive-throughs has certainly become very prevalent and very much needed. So we're proposing to develop the site. We're looking to maintain the access in its current location. It currently shares a traffic signal with Holyoke Crossing across the street. We're also proposing a right-in as well on Holyoke Street to service the proposed facility for traffic leaving the mall and traveling north, give them an ability to take a right-in into the site. Oh, I think we have liftoff.
You're a co-host now. You can do it.
Councilor McGee is bragging like he knows what he's doing because he's done it.
Ryan did it. I didn't do it. Ryan did it all.
Okay.
Good job, Ryan.
Okay, Ryan.
There we go.
Ryan, I tell you, earning your keep tonight. Okay, look at this. This is.
Oh wow.
Look, development and government relations. Very good. Close.
Thank you.
Not bad.
So again, I'm going to just run back. All right. So again, just to orient everybody, and I can actually do one more thing. Here we go. So this is the site location. You can see Holyoke Crossing across the street. The mall is just to the south of us. So this is the project site. Again, it's approximately a little over 11 acres. We're looking to actually utilize approximately 10.6 acres here, and we're limiting our development only to the existing paved area that is previously used for that surplus parking lot. What we're proposing is the construction of those 3 buildings, as I mentioned. So just now that we have the pictures, I'm just going to kind of run through it again. I apologize for the redundancy. A total of 27,800 square feet with 190 parking spaces. And we are proposing, again, those 3 drive-throughs for the proposed building in Suite 1. This 6,750 square foot building, which would accommodate potentially 3 tenants in this location here, and then a larger 18,000 square foot building, which would also provide for a drive-through towards the rear of the site in this location here. Access would be maintained through that existing signalized intersection with Holyoke Crossing across the street, and we were proposing that right-in driveway just north of the mall for people coming up Holyoke Street. So with our application, we included our detailed site plan layout. One of the things that we wanted to focus on for this project was pedestrian connectivity. We did provide sidewalks throughout our proposed site plan to provide access to and in between each of the proposed buildings, in addition to 3 different access points to the sidewalk along the property's frontage along Holyoke Street. We've also incorporated bike racks for some of the proposed buildings to ensure and to encourage that pedestrian connectivity and alternate means of transportation rather than just passenger vehicles and things like that. In addition to our site plan, we have a comprehensive landscape plan included in our package. Again, we wanted to be respectful of that pedestrian access, so we provided low-lying shrubs adjacent to those that really kind of provide that pedestrian scale. We have a robust plan with over 33 trees, 14 understory trees, 227 shrubs and grasses, additional ground cover plantings, and perennials. The site itself is currently managed from a stormwater standpoint with a large stormwater detention basin towards the rear of the site in this location here. This project has already gone through and received approval from the Conservation Commission, in addition to a stormwater permit. So we are able to maintain that basin in its current form, and we've been able to actually decrease runoff as part of our proposed development to meet all of the both Holyoke and state requirements. And we are again limiting our operation to just within the limits of the existing edges of pavement. We've also provided a lighting plan, which has been designed in accordance with city requirements. We have all dark sky compliant fixtures, so that's recessed lights that prevent glare and cast and shine that light only down. And that was one of the requirements from a submission standpoint for this commission's consideration. In addition, we also provided and prepared a comprehensive traffic impact study to evaluate the potential traffic impact. Of the proposed development. We included a comprehensive study of 7 different intersections. We looked at Lower Westfield Road with Homestead Ave, the I-91 southbound ramps, the I-91 northbound ramps, the intersection of Lower Westfield Road and Holyoke Street, the signal with the CVS and the Ingleside Square, our proposed driveway, the site driveway with Holyoke Crossing, and also our right-in driveway to the south. We've done an exhaustive analysis. We also provided a supplemental analysis, which was analyzed for the peak holiday season. We obviously understand that this particular area of the city has pretty extensive traffic volume, especially during those holiday months. What we did is we looked at our proposed traffic the existing traffic operating conditions of the network, prepared our proposed trip generation, applied those trips to the network, and did a comprehensive analysis to understand what those potential impacts might be. We are proposing to widen our site driveway to provide an additional lane exiting our site with some traffic signal modifications to accommodate those minor changes to the proposed driveway. And one of the biggest elements that benefits this part of the city is that the state and the city have worked together to incorporate adaptive signal management for this portion of the city, which means that the traffic signals essentially modify themselves in real time based on actual traffic volumes experienced in that particular area at that particular time. So imagine, as anyone who shopped out in this area during the holiday months, oftentimes they'll have to engage a police officer to provide traffic control to make sure that queues are being managed. So it's not just going through the traffic signal, but there's a police officer out there waving traffic as needed. What this adaptive signal management has done is basically implemented that into the signal controller itself. And it's actually more efficient because it's truly focused on the volumes of vehicles as they come through the intersection and pass through the intersection. So with that analysis and with our proposed modifications to the driveway, we've been able to demonstrate that the surrounding roadway network can accommodate our proposed traffic without adverse impact. And that traffic report has gone through multiple rounds of review with city staff, and I believe the latest letter from the city engineer has confirmed that they believe our proposal can be accommodated from an impact study standpoint. Just to go back to our site plan and the individual proposals that we are requesting, the Suite 1, this we're currently showing as a proposed bank. It is a 3,000 square foot building, and we've provided adequate storage for vehicles and queue length for vehicles coming through there. We have multiple tellers and ATM locations designed into our current plan. We do taper this down. We have been working with city engineer and DPW to make sure that we've been able to address their concerns, and we can certainly continue to work with them as we go through the site plan approval process. The second proposed building to accommodate the drive-through is located in the southerly corner of the site in this location here. It does include a 6,750 square foot building right now designed to accommodate 3 tenants. We would anticipate that this would likely be a coffee drive-through user, and then some additional retail space to complement that use. And we have provided adequate queue length for vehicles coming through the drive-through. The last building and last drive-through that we are requesting approval from this commission is for the 18,000 square foot building towards the rear of the site. And this does include approximately a 4,000 square foot restaurant, which would be an end cap. And we have again designed this to provide adequate circulation and queuing length to ensure that this could operate and without any adverse impact to the area or to the site itself. And then the balance of this building would be essentially broken up for smaller tenant spaces. Overall, we do believe that, especially in the age of COVID, we've been able to design a site to provide some additional commercial investment in the community. And the good news is our site has been designed to accommodate all of these drive-throughs and keep those queues contained within the site itself. Based on our layout, any vehicles coming into any of these facilities would be able to come into the property. They'd be able to navigate through the property, and there's adequate room to make sure that there would not be any spillover. That's one thing that you may be seeing now in some of the other smaller sites that have been designed and approved and constructed, not only in this community, but others, is that you start to see, because drive-throughs have become so in high demand, that there's potentially queue and spill over beyond the limits of the site into the surrounding roadways. And our site has been designed to basically ensure that is an impossibility. And again, based on where we are, we've received Conservation Commission approval, we've received stormwater approval. We hope this commission looks at this application favorably, and then we would be following up with a formal site plan application, which would come in very short order. We're actually very encouraged that while we're not announcing any tenants associated with this application, that even given the current state of the world, there is activity, there is interest in this property, and it is an opportunity for us to bring some additional commercial investment in the community. And they'd be happy to answer any questions the commission may have.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Somebody else. Who's that?
Yeah, that's Councilor Graney.
Councilor Graney, please.
Yeah, just quickly, do you, without letting the cat out of the bag, Mr. Soley, do you have any potential tenants for those sites?
We do have, we have 2 potential tenants that have been in active discussions with the applicant. And even in the face of COVID-19 and this pandemic, they have remained interested in the property.
Thank you.
While we're at that, can I?
Okay, so let's see. I'm trying to, in the world of Zoom, I have a hand up from Councilor Bacon.
Just make it fair.
Councilor, you still raising your hand?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yep.
I would just like to make a general comment in that I'm actually encouraged to see that and hear that there is interest in development in the particular situation that we all find ourselves in. And it seems like the proponent has done a lot of due diligence relative to what is usually our biggest issue, which is traffic mitigation and flow. So it seems that has been given a lot of attention. And I guess my one question would be, it appears to me that the proponent is really looking to capture the traffic that's already there rather than that there would be more traffic created. Would that be an accurate perception?
Mr. Soley?
Yes, actually, that would be a very accurate perception. One of the things included in our detailed traffic impact study is obviously our proposed trip generation for the facility. We're able to capture trips from a number of different components. Our trip generation, we are able to basically feed off of the other developments proposed as part of our project. So there's an internal trip generation in addition to external trip generation. Additionally, because of the retail nature of the area, we're able to capitalize on pass-by trips. So those are trips that are already in the network that are maybe driving by from the mall or driving along Lower Westfield Road, and they essentially would stop here on their way to wherever their ultimate destination is. So from a trip generation standpoint, we've been able to capitalize and design the site to really feed off of itself and the surrounding traffic patterns to really minimize the new trips that we'd be putting on the network. And that analysis has gone through review from the city and also from the state, the Department of Transportation, as we go through their process. And we've been able to, and everything's been done in accordance with all those requirements from a trip generation standpoint. So yes, you're absolutely right. We've been able to design our site to capitalize on those existing traffic patterns, that existing traffic volume, rather than putting new trips on the network.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the interest and the opportunity for some more business development in our city. Thank you.
Councillor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Stoley, typically at this point, we're asking a lot of questions and then we open it up to the public. Your presentation has pretty much provided, I think, all the answers that we normally would have under these proposals. I have one concern, and it's kind of related to the drive-throughs, but related to traffic. Coming into the Holyoke Street, are you adding a left-hand turn there, or is that left-hand turn already there? The extra lane?
So yes, coming south on Holyoke Street towards the mall, there is a left turn lane that exists. We're looking to just maintain that. So we aren't proposing any modifications to Holyoke Street itself. That is able to be maintained. Our proposed improvements are really focused on our driveway, where we're widening a little bit to provide additional lanes leaving the site. But the traffic patterns on Holyoke Street are being maintained, and they can accommodate our proposed traffic.
Okay, I'm sure the numbers are good with your studies. Just a concern is there's a double crossover that happens there from people who are entering from Whiting Farms Road and people who are entering from Lower Westfield. All of a sudden, some want to go into Holyoke Crossings, some are going to want to come over into your development. Just hope that the traffic engineers can accommodate that and put some mitigation there. But otherwise, I think your presentation is wonderful in terms of providing the information we need. Thank you.
Thank you,
Mr. Chairman.
Okay, yeah, Mr. Soley, thank you. You're believe me, Mr. McGivern is being very gentle, but you're not going to get off light tonight, so don't rest too easy. Councilor Tallman.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Soley. I'm very familiar with the area. I think Councilor Bacon stated good that we definitely need business in that area. Going that way, coming back from the mall, I noticed you have another entrance. Is it halfway through there before the second entrance? So you're making an entrance there as you're coming up from the mall. You're heading north on Holyoke Street?
That's correct. Yes, we're proposing a right-in movement here. There's obviously a median which divides Holyoke Street, and we just wanted to provide a little slip for vehicles traveling north to come into the site. That's correct.
Okay, so you'll have two entrances, one there and then one further up by the light.
That's correct.
Okay, with that traffic light, I'm coming from Whiting Farms, coming straight towards the mall, and it is a little tricky there, as Councilor McGivern stated. You're getting the left lane there. With that light, will there be a left arrow getting into your development?
Yes, there will be.
Okay, because that's a pretty tricky area. There's almost like 3 lanes there, that people are coming into the mall or to Holyoke Crossing, and it's a little bit tricky there where it goes to 2 lanes and it goes like into 3. So there'll be at that light, you'll have a left arrow going in there at one time?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And the drive-throughs, you're planning drive-throughs for all the 3 businesses?
Well, we're proposing, so all of these, with the exception of the one pad, the 3,000 square foot pad closest to the traffic signal,
right.
The other 2 buildings are proposed to be multi-tenanted. So yes, we are proposing that each building have the ability to provide a drive-through, because we feel that that's part of what's going to drive economic investment into the foreseeable future. So yes, we are proposing drive-throughs for each building, but there obviously would be multiple tenants in these 2 buildings.
Okay. And you stated there are some areas in there for the crosswalks between the buildings for pedestrians to make it much safer. They're stated on that map.
Yes, that's correct. And I'll just highlight it real quick. We actually have 3 different sidewalks coming into the site from Holyoke Street, starting from the south, one coming immediately in front of this proposed building here. We then have sidewalks and patios coming across the front to a second sidewalk just north of the proposed right-in entrance. And then this sidewalk continues all along here to get access to this northernmost pad with sidewalk in front, which provides additional walk to another sidewalk just south of our proposed driveway or the existing driveway. Additionally, interior to the site, we have another sidewalk traveling or extending, from this pathway all the way up to the easterly building, the larger multi-tenanted building in the back. And then we have sidewalks along here with some patio space, sidewalks along the front of this building, and then access over to this parking field to the south here. So yeah, so we have pretty extensive pedestrian access planned into the proposed development.
Okay, and a couple more quick questions. The entrance halfway up into there, will that just be an entrance then and not an exit coming north? And the
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Yes,
so
that's correct. That'd be a right-in entrance only.
Okay. And the last question on a couple of the buildings, on all the buildings actually, for deliveries, is there ample areas where if there are trucks or tractor trailers to be able to get in and out of there?
Yes, so we have provided to the engineering department, and it was included in our traffic impact study. We do have truck circulation plans which depict how those vehicles would come into the site, how they'd be able to navigate around each building, navigate through here to not only accommodate loading operations, but also trash removal, dumpster pickup. And it has been designed to ensure that we can successfully navigate and circulate through all the buildings, in and around all those buildings.
Okay, thank you very much, Kevin.
Thank you, Councilor Tallman. Councilor Bacon, is your hand still up?
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. Councilor Lisi, welcome. You're recognized.
Yeah, thanks so much. Sorry for joining a bit late. I just have one question. Is this property still currently owned by the mall, or did somebody else buy it in order to put this development there?
So the property was actually sold from the mall to an adjoining property owner, I think in maybe July or August of last year.
Okay.
I'm actually working for an applicant who has this property under contract to purchase from the owner of this parcel here. So right now it has changed hands. It's no longer owned by the mall, correct. This would be a second acquisition of this parcel.
Great. And then I'll just note that based on the plans, this is reminding me of a lot of the developments that have gone up on Route 9 in Hadley, like the Home Depot, where there's Home Depot in the back, Aldi on the side, and then a number of multi-tenant, multi-tenant structures in the front. And there is a lot of traffic flow happening there, but I guess traffic engineering has come a long way because things over there do flow very nicely and neatly, and I haven't seen any traffic patterns. Same thing across the street, over by like where the LL Bean is and some other freestanding structures that have these drive-through installations around them. I think that it does look complicated, I think, but at the same time, once you're actually driving through it, it's very intuitive, and I don't think that there will be traffic problems based on the experiences that I've had in those other developments. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Councilor. Thank you for that. Before I get to my favorite part of the program, which is me, are there any other councilors that have their hands up?
No.
Don't see them. And if you don't do electronically, I'm not going to see it unless you want to yell. Hearing or seeing nothing. Okay, we'll get to my favorite part. Mr. Soli, first of all, thank you for being here. And just to the public, this is the way I'm going to ask a couple questions. and I'll be brief. Then I'm going to hear from any department heads who want to weigh in on this. I do see our city engineer is still here. And then after that, I'm going to hear from the public because we are in a public hearing. And then we're going to get the feedback. And then what's going to happen there is that this body is going to make a determination whether or not we want to keep the public hearing going, i.e. table it to a date certain, or we want to close the public hearing and then we'll take any other vote. Okay, so that's the agenda within the agenda. So Mr. Solly, thank you for being here, and we thank Mr. Borowski for his potential investment contingent upon certain approvals. Yeah, Mr. Solly, just on a technical point, the entryway from the mall in the right hand turn, are we proposing to build, yeah, right where you're kind of flashing, are we proposing to build a dedicated lane from the Holyoke Mall? And if so, where is it? And if not, why not?
We are proposing an additional dedicated lane. Right now, there are 2 lanes traveling northbound from the mall. We're simply providing this right in. You know, a lot of times when we look at the question of adding additional lanes or deceleration lanes or things like that, where you would essentially kind of pull off and have a lane for that right turn movement, based on traffic volumes, based on anticipated traffic flows and the speeds through here, there wasn't, we didn't see an engineering need to provide a deceleration lane or a dedicated lane feeding into that right turn movement. As you can see, as you travel north through this intersection, into this intersection, you know, there's adequate lanes where you have the 2 through lanes northbound. You have a dedicated left turn lane into Holyoke Crossing, and then there is actually a dedicated right turn lane into this driveway existing. So given that we're going to be able to provide this kind of bleed off for patrons who may want to attend or may want to visit this southerly pad, you know, they have the ability to kind of feed into the center here, but then they could still decide to take a right at the signal itself and then navigate through if they may be going to one of the other stores or facilities. So,
okay,
we
so
really
Mr.
looked at
Mr.
this.
Solly, I hear you there. So as I said at the start of this, I think most of us in this meeting didn't move into Holyoke yesterday. So I am intimately familiar with this. And so let me just make a suggestion for your consideration. Back where how many 100 yards before you go under the railroad track, there is a traffic signal, and at that traffic signal there are whoa, where did we go here? No,
I was going to go back to an aerial.
I like the screen you had, but beforehand.
Okay.
This is cool.
I'll stay right here.
I like the one prior to that, the one where we just were.
Sure, hang on one sec.
It doesn't matter. No, it's.
I'll get there.
Yeah, Mr. Solly, it really doesn't matter. So there is a traffic signal for traffic heading north out of the mall from the, I guess that would be theoretically there it is, the east side. There it is. Where you look. Okay, that right there in holiday time, that is 1, 2, 3. Let's go and let's race and let's fire up the road. And what you're potentially going to see is people scooting right up there thinking, well, we're going to head to JP's or Applebee's or maybe Route 91. And oh, wait a minute.
Can you hear me?
Oh, wait a minute. There's a turn that goes, oh, we can jump in here. Or, oh, I mean, let me slow down. What's this huge development right here? And meanwhile, we have a potential issue. So I'm going to suggest that it would be my hope that what you referred to as a deceleration lane might be considered, because right now in pandemic time, and although I have to say the Holyoke Mall is unbelievable, because it's still generating what I see is a lot of traffic, and I go to the mall almost every day to get my mail, and it's still a busy place. But this is nowhere near what's going to happen at holiday time. So that's just a thought for you. Second of all, Mr. Solly, the hours that we're proposing for the drive-throughs, are they the same? Are they dissimilar per building, or? I haven't heard that yet. So what are we talking about?
So we did provide, in one of our responses, I think from late March, we did provide proposed hour of operations. The likely hour of operations for the financial institution would likely be 7 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Okay,
the
so
ATMs
that's
would have
building one. Okay, let's just do it so I can write these down. So say that again, Mr. Soley. I apologize.
It would be 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. and then the ATM would be 24 hours.
Yep, proceed.
The anticipated hour of operations for the pad with a potential coffee shop would likely be 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. on Sunday.
Yep.
And then for the larger building in the back, we would anticipate this would likely be 6:30 a.m. to 11 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and 6:30 a.m. to 9 p.m. on Sunday.
Okay, so Mr. Soley, I'm okay. I'm okay with all that, but you know, I'm just one vote. But we would have to. This is a special permit, so we're going to have to put this into as a condition to the special permit, as you're aware. But here's my thought. Take it what it's worth. Why don't you just make it? You know, leave building one, the bank building, as it is, and why not just make building 2 and the big building the same? So in other words, 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and then 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. on Sunday. Well, why don't you just do that? Because it doesn't really matter to the vendor.
No, we of course we'd be happy to accept that. You know, we obviously try to provide specificity based on anticipated user. But yes, we would absolutely be willing to accept that if the board felt that was appropriate.
So it'd be acceptable. So at the appropriate time, I'll make that motion. And if any other councilors want to make an argument for or against that, I'm sure they will. But to me, that this is, you know, it's a commercial area. I think the more activity, the better. And it's not like, you know, you're not going 24 hours on this thing. And for heaven's sakes, it's a coffee shop and it's a restaurant. So to me, I don't know, simple is better. That's my take. Just on
How about
just on the okay, is that a who was that? Did somebody raise their hand or say something? Or did they say shut the hell up? They might have said that too. That's okay. All right. I really want to echo what Councilors McGivern and Tallman said relative to the I don't know what you call that, the main traffic light at Whiting Farms and Lower Westfield, and where it merges off of 91. So our friends at Mass DOT came up with this really interesting traffic design exit 15, and so that's not in this map. And you know, I bet the clowns at Mass RMV when they're taking their own tests, I bet they couldn't even pass it right there. I bet every clown at the RMV would fail that themselves. So what's happening, you know, is when you make you make the hard right, and then there's this huge barrier in between the hard right that feeds into the mall, which is Holyoke Street, but the barrier doesn't go all the way to the lights. So cars sometimes take that hard right, then they sneak all the way over to the traffic light that feeds into the Applebee's, et cetera, et cetera. So that's one issue, not really relevant to you, but the issue is relevant to you is when they keep bending to the right, and there's this little old yield sign there that in my experiences, is regularly ignored. And as Councilor Tallman rightly noted, there is a dedicated left-hand turn into the Pier 1, and which would then into what you're proposing to develop. But you've got to go over, as Councilor McGivern noted, a couple lanes. So my concern, and it should be any traffic engineer's concern, is this volume of traffic that comes off of Route 91 northbound that takes the right, the hard right that feeds to the mall and keeps bending to the right that feeds into Holyoke Crossing, etc. But wait a minute, now they want to take, there it is, that's a better one. Now they ultimately, that's a great map, right where you are, right where that traffic island is right there. Yes, that's the one, Mr. Soley. And so then they're going to feed over, to your parking lot. I'm just saying, I don't have the answer, but I don't think that's as easy a fix as what's happening at the southern end with a diesel lane that I would consider. And I'm not going to make a motion to that effect either, because that's not my call. That's an engineer's call. I'm just bringing it to your attention as a lifelong resident. But that part at the northern end, I'm just going to tell you, that's, as Councilor McGivern pointed out and as Councilor Tallman echoed, I think, you know, I don't know if another traffic signal has to go there or something, but it's got to be a little more than a yield sign, because that ain't working right now. And I don't care what anybody says, because you come out of Whiting Farms Road and it's just the same way as coming out of the mall, and then it's a race. And by the way, it's like it's like 3 lanes coming from Whiting Farms Road, and most of the time the people in the right-hand lane actually follow the rules and they take a right, but sometimes they don't, and they want to squeeze into the one lane that's become Holyoke Street. Meanwhile, you've got somebody coming off Route 91, Mr. Soley. So I know it's a long speech, but I hope I got my point across that what Councilor said earlier, I think that's a significant issue. And I realize that's got nothing to do with the drive-through, except for the fact that drive-throughs generate more traffic. So it does have something to do with it. So I would just say you've got to, the city engineer and yourself as a professional engineer really have to look hard at both ends of that roadbed and think it out. And I'd be, you know, hopeful that that those will come back up again in site plan review for your consideration. Okay, Mr. Soley?
I appreciate those comments, Chairman Bartley. And yes, you know, one of the things that happens through here is driver awareness. And as you know, as you drive through here, you start to take advantage of things, because that's kind of how it happens. There's only things we can look at with maybe some advanced signage and things like that, in terms of trying to make it very clear that once you take this turn, you know, one, that merge needs to be followed if there is an adequate signage for that. But then also just to make sure that everyone's aware that, you know, if you want to access this development, you got to be in that northernmost right turn lane, and then merge, and you know, so that you know this left turn lane is approaching. So we can certainly look at some additional signage or other things to address those concerns. And thank you for making the comments.
Thank you, Ms. Soley, for your consideration. Okay, let me just go back to the list here. Okay, I see no other councilors with their hands up, and I think I saw Mr. Parent is here. Mr. Parent, if you would unmute yourself, sir.
I will unmute myself and show myself.
Okay, Mr. Parent, we're so grateful to see you, and we're understanding you are on the proverbial comeback trail, and we're grateful for that. Now, Mr. Parent, would you like to weigh in on this discussion at this point?
Certainly, one item that I'd like to mention that Mr. Soley didn't mention that I'm concerned about is the potential for vehicles to leave this property and attempt to try to cut through the adjoining properties, which does happen right now, cuts through the former building. One item you may or may not be aware of is the tree belt and the grass belt that's along the development that will fully separate this development from the adjoining former Sears service building. The parking lot next to what used to be one is separated by a grade change, so there's no way to drive from that parking lot to the upper level parking lot. So when this project is complete, all the project that's generated on site will have to stay on site or leave the signalized intersection. There won't be any ability for people to come in and try to cut through this property and get out onto Lower Westfield Road to avoid, which we felt would be more problematic. You know, you're better off, you're safer if you can go through a controlled intersection than having people trying to cut in willy-nilly and interrupting traffic. And we again tried to all the impacts on the site. And traffic times, will there be some cars backing up at the intersection on site? We wanted that to happen more than backing up off-site, and believe that'll be more of the case than the off-site impacts.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Parent. Don't mute yourself, because there may be counselors with questions. Although I don't see any with their hands up. Counselor Green, are you good to go?
I'm good to go. Nice presentation.
Mr. Soli, I think he's complimenting you, not me. Okay, so okay, so no, Counselor Graney, that's okay. You hurt my feelings. Let it go. Let me. Okay, okay, Mr. Provost, Mr. Allen, would you unmute Mr. Provost, please? Okay. Okay. Yeah, Mr. Provost?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Provost, this is Dave Bartley, and I'm fortunate enough to chair this meeting. So Mr. Provost, I know you're in a butter and you received notice, and if there's any other persons that want to weigh in on this, I'll ask them to just kind of hang back and let Mr. Provost make his remarks. Mr. Provost, you have the floor.
I have one question to Mr. Soli, is that I call it natural buffer zone, which is all trees and we'll call growth in there. As long as that all stays there, then there's really no, we'll call interference with the residential property of myself. And so my question is that if all possible, can they leave the total vegetation and tree support of that, we'll call holding pond? If that all stays there, I think that will be just fine. Okay.
Mr. Soli, would you address Mr. Provost's concerns about the buffer, please?
I would, and thank you, Mr. Provost, for your comments. Yes, we are maintaining all of that vegetation to the east of our proposed development and where that existing paved area is. You know, there's some very minor non-invasive work proposed inside of that basin itself to clean out some sediment and, you know, lack of maintenance that is kind of been experiencing on that property over several years. But the vegetation is staying, the existing buffer, there is a very extensive and thick and mature buffer that is being maintained, and we're even enhancing it in some spots with some additional tree plantings. So yes, that buffer will continue to be a robust buffer between this site and any of the residential parcels to the east.
Okay. No, that's fine. Actually, that question has been answered. And the other question was, would traffic go between the two parcels, meaning the old Sears store and the development that Mr. Soli described? That was answered. That is not going to be connected. And again, that I think is a good, we'll call engineering plan to keep traffic from shortcutting, avoiding the traffic lights, but then causing another issue on Lower Westfield Road. So I think we'll be fine with that. Okay.
Okay, Mr. Provost, thank you. Appreciate it. Mr. Allen, is there anyone else in the waiting room relative to this matter from the public?
Dave, we don't have anybody in the waiting room right now. I don't know if there's somebody who's currently in the meeting that wants to speak on it. But
sorry for school to term. Is there anybody else from the public who wants to address this? I don't know how do you do this? Maybe a yell. Anybody? No one from the public. Okay. Mr. Soli. So.
David.
Okay, somebody's yelling.
Mr. Chairman, I think Mr. Tallman has his hand up.
Yeah, Councilor Tallman's recognized.
Yeah, thank you. If possible, To Mr. Provost, David, if we could get his address. Is he right behind there? Is he on Lower Westfield Road?
Mr. Provost, what's your address, please?
Actually, my address is 42B Lower Westfield Road, which is a long driveway that extends right down and actually abuts the property of this project. Meaning, if you lived there as long as I did, it was a road that went down across the brook,
right.
And on the side there was an older house and camp there when I was a boy.
Okay.
And but I've lived there all my life.
Okay, so that property is listed on the map, right, Mr. Soley? We had the red mark.
The residential arc is about 4.5 acres there.
Okay, there it is. Okay, thank you, Councilor Tallman.
Okay, thank you.
Clarification. Because I did want to address Mr. Provost's concern. I think Mr. Parent addressed Mr. Provost's second concern relative to the cut through. So Mr. Parent made it very clear that there cannot be any cut through between the old Sears and the well, you used to be able to do it. Well, you can still do it now. You can still drive through the past the old Sears, and then drive into what's being proposed as a lot. But Mr. Parent, you're saying that is going to be precluded. But I wasn't. How is that going to be precluded? What's going to be? Is it the grade, or is it going to be something else?
So I can touch on that, and Mr. Parent, thank you so much for bringing that up, and I am remiss. I apologize for not bringing that up before. So this aerial shows kind of the existing conditions, and you can see that Sears building and that existing driveway on the Lower Westfield Road. And right now, this parcel actually, this parcel provides access through that driveway into this larger parking lot area. It's kind of uncontrolled with multiple access driveways which kind of go through here. As part of our proposal, since that parcel is now owned by someone else, this worked when it was all under common ownership with the mall, but when this was sold off, we're actually proposing to construct, landscaping and curbing so that there's a clear demarcation between, that paved area and our proposed driveway. And then you can actually see there's this small parking lot here, which is being maintained, but this also does not provide any connectivity between this parking area and then the additional paved surface, which extends out to Lower Westfield. This is being maintained to provide some additional parking for the project to the north, but there is no ability to provide additional access out to Lower Westfield Road, and all that traffic is contained within our site and within that parking lot.
Okay, thank you for that. Mr. Tom, Councilor Tom, your hand's still up. Do you have another question?
I'm all set, David. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Soley, I want to throw out a hypothetical to you. So Mr. Provost raises the issue with the buffer in between what I'm assuming that's probably his property at the top of this map and now. So Mr. Soley, I know you don't anticipate it now, but does your client anticipate having to use that buffer in the future?
No. When we first evaluated this property for our client, we kind of looked at the natural resources through here, and there's a river, a stream that runs through the property, which obviously is protected by a riverfront protection area. And then there's also some steep slopes through here, which really make this back half of the property kind of undevelopable without a considerable amount of earthwork and things like that. Additionally, the basin itself that exists here could potentially be viewed as wetlands, but we were able to successfully go through the Conservation Commission and get approval for everything that we proposed through here. So we do not see any likelihood, and we've kind of told our client that this is really the extent of what we have from a developable area for the property, and that a lot of this area through here, there's some pretty steep terrain, and then there's additional regulated areas with Conservation Commission. So we do not expect or would not plan for any further development or encroachment beyond the limits as shown on this plan.
Okay, thank you for that, Mr. Soley. I think that clarifies. I would just say that under our ordinances 9.4.2, this body, and the City Council has incredibly broad discretion to make any condition it wants, that's reasonable. And I thought about maybe making that a condition to the permit, but I think in light of what you are recommending it, but I think in light of what you just said, it doesn't really seem like that's even feasible, especially with the stream and the elevation change. It doesn't even seem like it's feasible. So I think you've satisfied Mr. Provost's two concerns, and you've satisfied my concerns. Okay, hearing no other member of the public wanting to weigh in, are there any other department heads here that wish to weigh in before we move on to the voting part? Are there any other department heads here? Going once? Okay, I don't see any department heads raising their, or even if they're here, I don't even see them raising their hands. So I think we're good. Mr. Soli, I'm going to ask you to sort of relinquish the screen part at this point.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, Soli. Thank you for the presentation. I think that was very helpful. Would any counselor like to make a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
A motion is made and seconded to close the public hearing. Is there any discussion relative to that? Because as you know, that's it. That's the tail of the tape from the public. Okay, so we're all done with Mr. Soli, and we're all done with Mr. Parent. Well, not Mr. Parent, but we're all done with Mr. Soli. So this is your final call for questions relative to this. Hearing no discussion on the motion, all in favor?
I'll just add.
Mr. Soli, you can weigh in. You're not go. You can weigh in.
I just wanted to add. Over the last several months, I've done quite a few of these Zoom meetings, and I wanted to compliment the chair, Commissioner Bartley. You've done a very good job of running this meeting, and it's been very entertaining, far more than most. So thank you for that, and thank you for everyone for your time tonight.
You're gonna write that one down, David.
What's that, Joe?
You're gonna write that one down.
I don't have to write down. It's on tape. It's on video.
That's your first ever movie.
Oh no, you're right. Yeah, exactly. It's usually quite the opposite. I usually get the hate mail afterwards. Those are some of my favorite emails, though. Okay, so motions made and seconded to close the public hearing. Under discussion, hearing none on the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Okay, public hearing is closed. I'm going to make a proposal that we add a condition to the, that we make a motion to approve the permit applications with the condition that the, okay, so Mr. Allen, I want to make sure you're in tune with this because you're going to have to put it on the agenda. Ryan, you're there?
Yeah, I'm right here, Dave.
Thank you, my friend. Okay, so my motion is as follows, that we approve the 3 special permits. We condition the permit for the proposed bank to have hours of operation between 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. for the drive-through, and then we have the ATM be open 24 hours. That buildings 2 and 3, as I call them, but one is for the coffee shop and one's for the restaurant, have drive-through hours Monday through Saturday from 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. and that on Sundays from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. So that's my motion to approve with the aforesaid hours.
Second.
Okay, that motion's been seconded. Under discussion. I'll just start discussion. I appreciate the the review. I think we heard pretty much everything we always want to hear, ladies and gentlemen, and this stuff is usually with traffic. Well, we know we got some traffic issues, but we have a very accomplished planning board, which is going to take this up with a site plan review with the guidance of our accomplished city engineer. I think we heard from Councilors McGivern and Tallman relative to one end. I have my concern with the other end of this roadway. So that's the traffic. The parking, well, I mean, there's 190 spaces, so we're good to go with parking. Unlike other proposals in the city, there seems to be a fair amount of green space. I saw the biking, lock areas and all that on the map by Mr. Soli. This is a commercial area, so I mean, I don't think there's really an issue with noise. And then with lights, it sounds like the lights, I mean, that's the other big one is, I mean, there's not really any residential other than Mr. Provost, but now we've got the pretty strong feeling that that buffer between the proposed lot and Mr. Provost is pretty much in lockdown. So I think with that being said, I would like to recommend this to be approved to the city council with the aforesaid conditions. Any other councilors? Councilor Sullivan.
Yep, no, I just want to echo your sentiments on this. Pretty much, I'm very pleased to, especially with what's going on with the Sears next door going to a nonprofit. What's happened recently with Kmart down the street, to see something positive going on that's going to offset some of these losses and create jobs and create tax revenues. And I want to compliment Mr. Soley. I think, in my 5 years now, this is one of the best presentations I've seen yet.
Thank you, Councilor Sullivan. Any other councilor want to weigh in? I can't believe we're not hearing from Councilor Tallman. This is shocking. Councilor Murphy, you want to weigh in? No? Nothing from Councilor Murphy. That's good. Councilor Graney?
No.
Nothing from Councilor Graney. Councilor McGivern is giving a thumbs up. Okie dokes. Councilor Bacon?
I just want to put in a word of support for this proposal to the committee and to the council. It gets to council hopefully soon. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion before us to approve with the aforesaid conditions. Seeing no other or hearing no other further discussion on the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Okay, so we will, just to the public, and I particularly want to thank Mr. Soley. I want to thank Mr. Provost for their incredible patience, but we all knew this was going to be a doozy, so we just have to deal with it. Thank you for all your patience and your interest. And what we'll do is we will recommend this to be approved to the full city council. The full city council meets next at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, August 4th, first Tuesday of the month. And we'll see where it goes, okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Good job.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Moving west. Okay, if I could get a motion to, let's skip that. Let's skip that for a second. Is anybody here from Amazon? Okay, I don't hear anybody. Let's go to.
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, okay. You got yourself in just a nick of time. I was ready to. Okay. I'll accept the motion to take number 7 off the table for purpose of discussion to open the public hearing.
Motion to take item number 7 off discussion for an open public hearing.
Second.
Motion been seconded to remove from the table agenda item number 7, open the public hearing and discussion. Hearing none on the motion. All in favor? Aye. Public hearing 3/10/20. Petition for a special permit to Amazon for a long-term storage and, okay, this is not artfully worded, a long-term storage and tent at 489 Whitney Avenue. And let us just see what we have in the jacket. We have, let's see here. Management group. Let's see. This is let's see, 49 Whitney, pursuant to et cetera, et cetera. The applicant requests that the city council grant a special permit for the use of the temporary storage unit in accordance with section 7.2.12 of the ordinances. The storage unit is used to store supplies such as water, this is confusing, a cordless vacuum, shovels, for van drivers that park in the off-site parking lot. Oh, yes, this is going to be exciting. The storage container also is used to store a desk and a chair to be used each morning when coordinating the routes for the drivers, which I'm fascinated by this because according to our assessor, we have no drivers parking in City of Holyoke within the confines of the city. There are no Amazon cars parking within the boundaries of the city. The storage container is not manned during most of the day. The driver coordinator is present most mornings to facilitate the daily van dispatch. I don't know why they're doing it from Holyoke, because there are no vans in Holyoke. And then the coordinator returns to the main building located at 161 Lower Westfield Road. The applicant also requests that the city council grant a special permit for the use of the temporary tent used as a congregation point each morning to allow the van drivers to be out of the weather while the coordinator provides daily information to the drivers. Okay, who is the proponent that is with us?
My name is Suze King. I'm from BL Companies, and I am representing Amazon.
Okay, Miss King, just tell me the name of your employer, please.
BL Companies.
Okay, and where's BL Companies based?
Address is in Norwood, Mass. And so, do you want the full address? In Norwood. So 220 Norwood Park South.
Yes.
Suite 201.
Yes.
In Norwood. 02062.
Okay, Ms. King, you have the floor.
All right, thank you very much for hearing us. So as Chairman just read, we are looking for a special permit to allow the storage is a temporary container that is on site. It's not a permanent structure, but they're looking to use that for the life of the lease that is 5 years. And so as the chairman said, that there is a coordination in the morning in order to coordinate having the vans go from the offsite lot to the main lot, and making sure that you know, there's a sort of a synchronized dance of vans coming to the site where they're staging, loading, and then leaving. And so the start of the dance, I'll call it that way, starts at the offsite lot where the vans are organized and given, they're told what wave they're in. And so part of that is having this storage facility that is, you know, in the beginning they wanted to be able to store more, like, you know, the waters and the supplies for the vans, but really all it's turned out into is having the coordinator's desk able to be there. And so the coordinator, how they've ended up running it is that they are typically there in the morning, and then they're there in the evening to check out the van drivers and to collect all the keys to bring back to the site. And additionally, there's a tent there to provide access, an area for van drivers to be out of the elements while they are waiting for either to be signed in or signed out. And so, you know, obviously, so you guys are well aware that you know, City of Holyoke has the ordinance that you cannot have the temporary facility for this long of a duration, and so therefore we're coming to you for a special permit to allow that on site.
We appreciate that. That's all following our ordinances. That's how it should work. Ms. King, you indicated you have a lease with Pyramid Corporation?
Yes.
Yeah, when was it signed? And when is it effective?
I believe started in October.
Right, it started already, correct?
Yes, started October 2019.
Yes, yeah. I was pretty sure you were already up and running. Okay, and then where are the storage facility and the tent? Where are they? I mean, are they already on site?
So they are on site, yes, and
Yeah.
you know, it's sort of, you know, I apologize, and we're coming with our kind of hat in our hands that it was.
No, I apologize. The mayor doesn't even follow our old ordinances. Why should you, an out of towner? Why should you even be following them? I mean, yeah, our own mayor doesn't follow them. You know, don't feel bad. I mean, you're actually
good neighbors.
You're actually making effort. I mean, I can't say our executive is, but that's okay. All right. So, Ms. King, obviously, you know, I generally support this. We supported already in this body a similar type of a temporary deal for your abutters, which is the tractor trailer school that would be sort of across the way in the back part of the mall lot. So Pyramid is being somewhat resourceful, I guess, with this property, and I understand it's a tough economic climate, and they're trying to do what they can. What I don't really like is that somehow, some way, Amazon has, let's say, more than a few, because I can't quantify it, though maybe you can, more than a few vans parked within the boundaries of the city of Holyoke, and somehow, some way, by some operation of law, which I haven't seen put before me, Amazon doesn't pay excise tax for any of its dozens and dozens of vans. Would you have an explanation? I know that's somewhat outside the scope, but it's not terribly outside. Would you have an explanation for that?
So unfortunately, they have made a transition that with lessons learned and understanding of being on site as far as parking the vans. There is with the Holyoke's site, as with others, the vans are third-party drivers. So what happens is that the Amazon facility leases the vans, and then they leases the vans to a third-party logistics and company. And so that third-party business owner is actually responsible for the deliveries and the drivers, and the van drivers are not technically Amazon employees. You've probably seen commercials or Facebook ads of basically having a business in a box. This is part of it. And so as the Holyoke facility has been was set up, at that time the language I don't think required the logistics company to garage the vans. I apologize. I'm not actually Amazon. I am a different company, but
Ms. King, you've actually given me. So just let me just step back for a second. The owners of the vans are whom?
My understanding is that the owners are Amazon, and then they lease the vans to a logistics company, but there's not a requirement for that logistics company to then garage at whatever site. And that has since changed, I know, in the new layout, because I don't think they realized that. However, as this site is right now, my understanding is that this is as part of the under the previous version of that logistics agreement.
Yeah, I'm sure you weren't anticipating this question, but it's actually a very serious one for the main reason that this is, I think, almost without exception, the poorest community in the Commonwealth of the 351. And so when there's, I mean, how many vans are there? Can we just say 100? And I don't think we're off base by much. So that is that's not an insignificant sum of revenue. That's maybe $100,000 in excise tax that is not being collected by or more. I'm probably being charitable, or more by the city of Holyoke, despite the fact that 100 vans owned by the biggest company in the world are parked in the city of Holyoke. So everybody else here who has a car or multiple cars, we're all paying excise tax dutifully to the city of Holyoke, just like you are in the town where you live. So should you own a car, you're getting an excise tax bill, you're paying it. Every other commercial vendor that has vehicles parked in the city of Holyoke is paying, well, the expectation is that they're all paying excise tax to the municipality. But somehow, some way, Amazon does not. And I don't get it. And, obviously I don't get a warm, fuzzy feeling about it, because those vehicles are, I've been back there when I just happened to be there. I wasn't like spying. It just happened to be there. When the parade, which, we love parades in Holyoke, so why don't we call it a parade? The parade of vehicles that come out of there Ms. King, is, I mean, you have to wait, and I don't mean 5 seconds, and I don't mean 50 minutes either, but you have to wait, 7 or 8 minutes for all the vans that flood out, and yet no excise. I don't get it. Okay, any other councilors have questions?
Yes, I do.
I heard an idea. Okay, Councilor Graney.
Yeah, since I brought this issue up 2 or 3 meetings ago, who owns the vans and why don't they pay excise tax? It's a simple question.
Well, we now learned from Ms. King that apparently Amazon owns the vans, and so I think they're the ultimate party, but apparently it leased them out to, well, I didn't get the name of the vendor to whom they leased them.
So let me clarify that. I apologize. I misspoke. The current version, I was trying to look through quickly notes here. So under this version, it's the logistics company that does own the vans. I don't believe that Amazon owns these vans.
Okay, what is the exact name of the owner? Do you have a name that you can share with us at this point?
That I do not know.
So it's a logistics company whose name and address remain a mystery. Is that a true statement, Ms. King?
Unfortunately, that's my knowledge at the moment. Yes.
Well, I just want to boil it down here. It's been a long meeting, and we got to have some fun, don't we? Okay, Councilor Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, just so I understand this, so if I'm hearing you correctly, all of those vans in the beginning of the day go to the parking lot off of Whitney Avenue, I'm assuming the farthest parking lot in the mall? So next to where the trucking company is?
Correct. So the vans that are not already parked on site start in this offsite lot.
And so are we talking 100 vans potentially starting there?
Yes.
And what time do they start?
This site I still believe is on the older model, and so they start around 8:30, 9 a.m.
And what time do they end?
And so then they come back later in the evening around 6:37 p.m.
Okay, and is this every day?
Yes,
including Sunday. Including Sunday.
Yes.
And while they're there waiting to get their instructions, are their vehicles running?
No, they are in the tent waiting to go in to talk to the person that's sitting in the storage container.
Okay, so they go to talk to the person in the storage container. They get their key then?
Yes.
And are all those vans at that point parked in that parking lot?
So there are some vans on the lower Westfield roadside. However, everything there, they bring over keys in the morning, and then you drive up in your personal vehicle, you park, you go over to the tent to wait and get your keys, get your assignment for the day, and then you go to the site. You get in your van, you go to the site. And then at the end of the day, you come back to the, after you make all your deliveries, as long as you don't have any undeliverable packages. If anything was undelivered, you have to go to the lower Westfield Road site. And then, but most people come directly back to this site, park their van, do their safety check with the person in the storage container person, the site coordinator there. They give their keys back, and then they get in their personal vehicles that were parked in this lot over during the day, and then they go home.
Okay. I mean, Mr. Chair, I just want to, I know, and I'll certainly try to be business friendly here, but I do have concerns because I know, and I was able to work with the United Trucking Company to move their training. There's several homes back there off Whitney Avenue that were basically having, they couldn't go out on a Saturday or Sunday and stay in their yard without having problems with noise, pollution, and a variety of other things. So I would definitely, I'm gonna just take a drive up there and try to catch how this works with Amazon. But that would be one of my concerns. If we're talking 100 vans being in that neighborhood, and you're talking it's every single day, the quality of life for the people that are homeowners and are paying taxes, it's certainly an issue that I would have. The other aspect, rather, if we allow a tent, and I'm assuming a tent is considered to be non-permanent, is that taxable from a property tax perspective?
I'm virtually certain it is, but that's a question that should be confirmed in writing from the assessor. Mr. Allen, would you be so kind as to email our chief assessor relative to Councilor Murphy's question and then circle back to the committee, please?
And just to go back, and when United Tractor Trailer was, thanks, Ryan. When United Tractor Trailer was in their other location and they were looking at bringing in a trailer to do this same kind of thing, I know they paid taxes on that. So I just want to make sure, if I would like to know, number one, what the assessed value of a tent would be versus maybe a more permanent facility. So, but again, I have those concerns about protecting my constituents in that neighborhood who have already had concerns about the United Trucking, which have been handled and it worked very well. So if need be, I will work with the mall on Amazon to try to meet their needs as well. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Murphy. Any other councilors want to weigh in? Because, you know, this is just a fraction of the vehicles. I mean, because the rest of them are 161 or Westfield. So that, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, I think 100 is being pretty conservative on the estimate. Councilor Bacon. You're muted, Linda.
Sorry. The only thing that strikes me about this storage unit discussion is that this really seems more like an office to me, because it seems like there's regular hours every day, 7 days a week. It just seems a little different than my recollection of the tractor trailer situation, but.
Well, it is an office. It says it right here. Can you see it?
Yeah, and that just
says office.
It just strikes me that it's a little bit more routinely used for more hours every day than something I would tend to see as a temporary structure. That's all.
And I might say it's a very handsome office too. Look at that. It's got a window with bars over it. It's telling you, it's.
And I just get the question would be in our ordinances, you know, when do we cross over from something that's a temporary thing sitting on a parking lot to when something is actually an office and changes in that definition? I don't know the answer to that. It's a theoretical, but.
Well, I hear you. I hear you, Councilor. Okay, thank you. Councilor, are you all set, Linda?
I'm all set, thank you.
Councilor Sullivan.
Yeah, so if there's going to be someone, what do they have for sanitary facilities?
Ms. King?
There's porta potties on the property.
All right, so basically what we're looking at is a site trailer, something like would be on a construction site or something like that.
Correct.
And with porta potties, this is going to go on for 5 years?
Correct.
Okay. And the tent is supposed to provide shelter in the winter and through all the seasons here in New England?
Yes.
All right. And that tent is heated?
No.
Air conditioned?
No. It's intended, I mean, to be out of the rain, out of, some some shade, but it's not meant to be a prolonged area that people congregate.
Okay, those are my only questions right now.
Yeah, there you go. Sounds nice, huh? Well, look, we got to take an action. So I would say this is not a pretty picture. I would say my disappointment has not been abated whatsoever. you know, I was kind of hopeful, gee, maybe there'd be something, you know, with 100+ vehicles, and I know it's more than 100. It's well north of that, but I can't quantify, so I don't want to speak to it. But so the excise tax is out the window, and the inordinate number of vehicles that are going to be driving up there for, I mean, I'm glad people have jobs. Don't get me wrong. I'm glad they have jobs. I'm glad they're traffic. But I mean, that's why Holyoke probably has the highest insurance rates in the Commonwealth. It's just more of this nonsense just keeps coming and coming, and there's nothing in return. It's very frustrating. But what are we, you know, literally what are we to do, gentlemen and ladies? So I don't know what to say, except it would be like I said, this is a special permit. Under 942, we have pretty broad discretion on what to put as a condition. But I for one don't want to make it a 5-year special permit. I for one would want to see it limited in time, so this could be reviewed again within a 5-year window. We do have that authority. I don't think this should be just carte blanche 5 years. We appreciate Amazon coming in, but Amazon is doing what? Is paying rent to O'Connell Company. By the way, O'Connell Company was not the most forthright business I ever saw back in 2010, 2011. I've seen more honest companies in my time on this board, but I was underwhelmed by O'Connell, and I continue to be underwhelmed by O'Connell by some of the actions that are taking place relative to the potential zoning issues. So I get frustrated by it, but I for one want to see this at least try to go forward today and give Ms. King you know, the benefit of the doubt, but with the hope that they would get the message from this board that we'll take it to a certain point, but not for 5 years. So that's my take on it. I'd like to hear from other counselors if they would. Well, Ms. Counselor Murphy, I know that, but I wish you were on the committee, but you're not. So, but just hold the line a second. Are there any committee members that want to weigh in on this before I recognize Counselor Murphy? Counselor Sullivan.
Yeah, I certainly can't support seeing porta potties, tents, and storage trailers out there for 5 years. All right, I definitely want to support Amazon and the jobs they brought to Holyoke and show them that we are business friendly. I'd be fine with something along the lines of 18 months, and that they've got to come back to us with a better long-term plan of how they're going to handle this, and an answer as to what you know, what's going on. I don't know, that's a little out of the scope, but we really, some other community is reaping the benefit on a monstrous amount of excise tax here as well. And, you know, maybe I wouldn't mind seeing a porta potty if we were collecting $100,000 to see it. But as this stands right now, I certainly couldn't support 5 years.
Councilor Tallman.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that. I think a lower term would be important. Definitely thankful for Amazon for the jobs they have, but to not be able to collect any revenue for excise and possibly maybe get some tax dollars for the structure. But I think 5 years is too long of a time. I would go either 18 months to 2 years and then have them come back to look at maybe a long-term solution to this issue.
Yeah, Mr. President?
Councilor Graney, please.
Mr. Chairman, sorry. Look, if Amazon doesn't own the vans, somebody in this wide world does own the vans, and they're located in a certain location, but the vans are parked in Holyoke on a consistent basis, and we should reap the benefits of the excise tax. So we need to find out who owns the vans, and they should be taxed accordingly. And obviously 5 years is way too much for temporary structures and porta potties. So 18 months is even an extension, but I could support it. Thank you.
Okay, before I recognize Councilor Murphy, I want us to note that that anything should be retroactive to the start date. So set your calendars and your minds, whatever you want to propose for October of 2019, and then calculate it from that date. Councilor Murphy.
Yeah, well, several things. I agree with Councilor Sullivan that, first of all, I can't imagine that we should have a porta potty in the parking lots of the mall, which just doesn't seem like that's an attractive entryway to come in. But what did Amazon do prior to this tent operation?
They were not in Holyoke.
What was that?
This has been since the beginning of the operation within the city.
So they went and did this, but they just did it without any permit.
We had that discussion, Councilor Murphy. We talked about that. Miss King is actually to be credited because she's actually coming forth to comply with ordinances, unlike our mayor, who does not comply with our ordinances. They're archaic.
This unfortunately was a decision of the logistics manager that were bringing the site online, and this has been done at other sites in other other cities, other states, and the local ordinance wasn't reviewed, and it was brought to our attention that this is not in compliance, and so we had a period of time trying to figure out how to permit it because it was somewhat of an unknown. We worked working very closely with the planning department and building department, and we went a couple of rounds trying to figure out. One of the things we did try is say, what if we do call it a permanent structure? But then, as we went round and round, and unfortunately it did take some time, and some people were out of the offices. And so then it was finally resolved to come before you for the special permit. And so we did start the process.
Okay.
It was put on site, and very soon we did start this process. Unfortunately, it just took a little bit in order for us to find our way.
Councilor Murphy, the order was filed March 10th, so we got to keep that in mind as well. So it wasn't like an inordinate amount of time. Councilor Murphy has the floor.
I appreciate your thoughts about keeping this for less than 5 years, and it just amazes me that one of the most wealthy, if not the most wealthy, business or person in the world, or at least in this country, would want to have their operation with porta potties and a trailer. I mean, that just seems to me absurd. I can't imagine that they could not do something that would be attractive to the mall as well as attractive to Amazon, and really show a better image. I would go along with 1 year, I assume. But I would agree that, and I think after 1 year, those porta potties need to go. Thank you.
Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I may have missed this earlier, but Ms. King, Amazon doesn't own the property, correct?
No, the mall owns it.
Okay, so Pyramid owns the property, Amazon leases it from Pyramid.
Correct.
How long is their agreement with Pyramid?
I believe it's for the 5-year term, similar to the main
Can you
site.
divulge the monetary agreement with Pyramid?
No, we've provided the lease terms to at least the planning department. I don't think it was decided that it wasn't a requirement for this, but as far as the actual dollar amounts, no. I don't have that.
My vote's going to depend upon that. So could you ask Amazon or the Pyramid if I can have those dollar amounts before our meeting? Thank you.
Joe, you all set?
Yes.
Okay. Put up that thumb there, Joe, so I can know. I can hear what you're saying. Well, that green thumb, you know how to work that button. You're the only one who can work it. Okay. Let's see. I see no other hands up. I'm gonna be retroactive to October of 19, so I'm gonna recommend that we approve the special permit to December 31st, just to make it even so I can think about it. December 31st, 2020. No, is that wrong? Yeah, that's wrong. December 31st, 2021. And so what that does is that would put them in a position to, or Ms. King in a position, I hope. By the way, this can be amended on the floor, Ms. King, or it can be rejected now. I mean, whatever. It can be any number of things could happen. But I'm going to make a motion that we approve it. So this is, you know what? That's a horrible motion. I'm gonna revise it. That we approve it to June 30th, 2021. The special permit, and that sort of gives us the window of about 18 months retroactive. It kind of puts us in a position where we can hear back from them, and that's more than a reasonable amount of time between July 20th and next June 30th to hopefully get a little better clarification. For example, who owns the vans? That would be a starter kit. And then get some clarification about where they're paying excise taxes and why, not to the city of Holyoke. Those are a couple of those starter kits. And then I don't know if we have the ability. I heard what Councilor McGivern says. Obviously, I respect everything he ever says, but I don't know if we have the ability to get the terms of a contract between two private parties. That would be somewhat unusual. However, in light of what's going on right now, reasonable minds could say that is not that's not an unreasonable request. And I hear what Councilman McGivern said, and just so we're clear, this permit requires a simple majority vote. Does not require a 2/3 vote. So that being said, that's my motion to approve the special permit through a date certain to wit. June 30th, 2021.
This is a public hearing.
Mr. Chairman?
Oh, this is a public hearing. Oh my God, I'm losing my mind here. Thank you. We're still in a public hearing. Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Oh God, I am losing my mind. Hold that motion in abeyance. Thank you for the reminder. We are in a public hearing. Are any department heads here that want to weigh in? Seeing none. Is there any member of the public that wants to weigh in? I hear none. Thank you, Councilor Murphy, for that. I appreciate it. I got a little lost in my little nonsense. Okay. We have the ability to close a public hearing. I would say it's probably, I don't want to close it yet until we discuss until this body discusses what it is it wants to do with the the deadline. So,
Mr. Chairman?
Who's that? Councilor Graney.
Yeah, I don't see why the contract between the mall and Amazon, or Pyramid and Amazon, or anything else has anything to do with our granting this permit. We're simply granting a permit for a period of time for the tent and the porta potties. That's all we're doing, and I think we're well within our rights to put a limitation on it. That's all.
Councilor Graney, you're right. I think that's just, I don't want to speak for the councilor, but I would think it's just try to gather as much information as possible prior to a vote. I don't think that's unreasonable, but I'll stand there. I see Councilor Sullivan, Councilor McGivern. Councilor Sullivan is recognized.
Yep. Thank you. It's just as far as the timeline, I understand the retroactive part, but in reality, we'd be giving them less than a year with the permit to respond to this. I think that original date you had of December, it's short of 18 months from now, but it's 17, close to 16 months would be appropriate.
I hear you, but how about somewhere in the middle, Mike? How about June 30th of 2021? Because when you get into the December world, we're really pushing up against the calendar for our body with taxes and all that other stuff. It gets really hairy in that area. So what about June 30th, 2021?
That's 11 months.
I know, but right. Well, they've been sitting there but ultimately it'll be 2 years when you think about it.
All right. No, I'm fine.
Okay, so that's my. So I'd make the I don't want to close anything, but right now we're thinking about September 30th, 2021. Councilor McGivern is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to address Councilor Graney's concern. I have no problem with the reduced special permit and the numbers, the months that you're talking about. My concern is the fairness, and that's why I asked the question, and I apologize to Ms. King, because I know I'm putting her on the spot, and I kind of already knew the answer. But look at the fairness of this. Right now, we're looking at Amazon, who we're all very happy is taking over a building that was near vacant and brought in a lot of jobs. But the fairness is we have a infrastructure system that we have to support through tax dollars. That includes property tax, and that includes the excise tax. With Amazon, we get the property tax on the building through O'Connell, which is good. We don't get the excise tax. With the parking lot, we don't get nothing. You know, and there's two businesses that have been brought in. One, the trucking company on the opposite side of the street there, and Amazon is now a business that's using this as part of their property, you know, part of their business itself. So, and secondly, I've never heard of a temporary permit that goes more than a few months. I'm not even sure what a temporary permit is. And I'm sure it's been researched in terms of our ordinances and the language, but the only permit we've ever issued for storage is when someone needs to put something in their driveway while they're taking their roof down or taking stuff out of their house in bins like that. I've never heard of a special permit for 5 years or for any lengthy period of time. But no, it's the Councilor Graney's, you know, concern. It's got nothing to do with the time for the permit. It's got nothing, and this has got nothing to do with the porta potties. There is no special permit for porta potties. Trust me. There's no sewage or no water on this property. That's why there's nothing permanent. But I just like to know something that at least if Pyramid's getting something out of this, and let's say there's a fairness here because Bay State on the opposite side of the street, on Bay State runs a lab, you know, that has 100 cars, courier cars that are parked there overnight. And we don't get one excise tax on that. And we get no property tax from Bay State on the old Wang building. The proposal of the Wang building was supposed to save the city of Holyoke. So somewhere along the line, we who live here, we support business, we want commercial, we want the jobs, but we need to get our fair share of property tax and excise tax to pay the bills for the infrastructure.
Yeah, just to Councilor McGiver's point, which are all spot on, add the Sears building. So what the mall did was the mall sold it to a nonprofit. So remove that from the tax rolls. Goodbye. You know, that's what Pyramid did. Now, we're grateful for Pyramid, we get it, but we keep it in context. Councilor Tallman.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm okay with the date September 20th, and I think Councilor McGivern made some great points that I think it's logical to see what kind of compensation we're getting. Councilor Murphy also said about the area. I mean, that area up there with the houses and actually the buildings, I think it's Whitney Avenue, those apartments, you know, are being effective. I'm on a daily basis. You're talking, you know, I don't know how many hours, 12, 15 hours a day, and trucks coming in and out of there 7 days a week. And we have to support that. I mean, our tax dollars have to support that. So I think a fair enough time is about a year and a couple months, this temporary permit, and then try to look at what we can do to find out, you know, with the trucks, who owns them, and how we somehow can get some compensation from them for putting them there. I mean, we're all for the jobs, but also important, the rest of us that have to pay our taxes and pay for our excise for our vehicles on a daily basis. So I think it's fair to say that the 21st is a good day. And I also would like to find out if there's some kind of compensation with the mall before the vote on the 4th.
Mr. Chairman.
Councilor Graney.
Yes. We're very happy with Amazon. I don't want to deny that fact. We're thrilled that they're here. They're providing tax for us. But if there is a company who is leasing or using the vans that is not paying any taxes or not paying anything toward our infrastructure or everything else, they're just taking the money from the city and using our property. So I think in a sense of fairness, we definitely need to find out who they are, what the company is, how it came to pass that they're not paying income tax or excise tax, and follow that through. And I think that granting this permit on a temporary basis is something that's fine with me. I don't have a problem with that. But they're using our property, whoever owns those vans, and there are more than 100. You're absolutely correct. I never counted them, but well, I shouldn't say I never counted them because I can't say that there's more than 100, but I suspect there's more than 100 in and out during the course of the day. So, I mean, the city of Holyoke should reap some benefit for that. If there's a phantom company out there who is leasing these vans to Amazon, then we need to tax that company who is reaping the benefits from Amazon from getting the money for the leases. That's all I'm saying. Thank you.
Okay, any other counselors with their hands up? No, I see none. So, okay, I'll accept a motion if we think it's in order to close the public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second that.
Motion's made and seconded to close the public hearing. Under discussion. Hearing none. On the motion, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Okay, so the public hearing is closed. I'm going to make a motion to grant a special permit with a condition that the permit runs to September 30th, and whatever day that is, September 30th, 2021. And after that is well before, and 21, and that we expect to have, the permit runs to September 30th, 2021. That's my condition on it. Maybe that could be amended somehow, or maybe we could think about it a little bit more before August 4th. But that's my motion. Well, motion.
I'll second that.
Okay. The clock was ticking there.
It took a little while.
Okay, motion's made and seconded to grant the special permit with the condition that the permit expires September 30th, 2021. Under discussion. Hearing none. On the motion, all in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? None. Okay, so that motion is approved. The special permit with the condition, Ms. King, is allowed. Thank you, Ms. King, for your presence. I think you heard our concerns. Ms. King, the way this works is we as a subcommittee simply recommend to the full city council. The full city council next convenes on August 4th, Tuesday at 7 p.m. It's the first Tuesday of the month. And so that body will make the ultimate call on this. And they can approve it, reject it, or amend it. It's hard to say. I'm going to say if you have any answers to the myriad questions that we raised, please reach out to Mr. Allen, who's our administrative assistant, and all his contact intel is on holyoke.org. Okie doke.
Okay, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Ms. King, for your time. Okay. Just a time out for sports. I've got Papa Doc with me, so I just.
We lost. Hello?
Time out.
Okay.
He's talking to somebody at the chambers.
Just a minute.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Thank you, committee. I just had to talk to our nighttime custodian who was gracious enough to allow me into the building, and he had to place air condition for me. I tell you, what a guy! What a guy!
You're lucky.
Hot air that I blow. It's unbelievable. Okay, with the next event, oh Lord, number 8. If I could get a motion to take number 8 off the table and open the public hearing.
Motion to take up number 8 off the table for discussion and open up the public hearing.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to remove number 8 from the table and to open a public hearing on the motion. Under discussion, hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Aye. Let's see what this says. Public hearing 6/2/20. Petition of Vitali. I'm not going to be Kevin Jourdain and butcher, but Vitali G of 73 Taylor Street for a special permit for a driveway 6181. And let's not get Mr. Allen's paperwork out of order because I know he'll get upset with me if I do that. Poor Mr. Allen. Okay, we'll move that over there. Sorry, Mr. Allen. All right, and we'll move on to, okay, we'll move on to the City of Holyoke City Council special permit application. Mr. Gladish, Mr. Vitale lives at 77 the Cole Terrace in Feeding Hills. And it is pursuant to 48, et cetera, approval for a non-compliant existing driveway. And when we open the packet, we see that this is a 2 or 3 family unit. We see, it looks like it's a driveway that's probably going to be in the front yard. I know Councilor Fair would have loved that. And that's all I see. I don't see much else in the way of drawings or schematics here, but who is, let's see on this list here. Let's see who is here Ms. Chesky. Attorney
Yes,
Chesky is here representing the proponent. Ms. Chesky, is your client here?
My client is not here at the moment. He was here originally at 6:30. He was not feeling well and got himself to the emergency room.
That's okay.
So you have
okay.
me.
I'm sorry if we added to his illness. That happens here. Ms. Chesky, you have the floor. Why don't you tell us what's happening?
Thank you, Councilor Bartley, and thank you all for your time tonight. Mr. Gladish, through his company, purchased this property back in 2018. It was vacant. There had been a house previously on it that was demolished. And he built this 2-family home on it. And when he built it, he did put a driveway in the front because a determination was made by him, the contractor and builder, that in order to put it on the side, there was not enough space going up against the neighbor's fence on the property. So we are here, hat in hand, asking for a special permit after the driveway has been constructed in the front of the property. And we are asking that you approve the driveway as it has currently been constructed, and with the caveat that Mr. Gladish would correct the sidewalk issue that is in front of the property and make the sidewalk be conforming to the DPW requirements as it was torn up as the house was being built.
Oh dear. Okay.
So we would fix that. I do believe that the ordinance requires or allows you to do this if 50% of the front is landscaped. I don't know if any of you have driven by it, but there is a portion of the front yard that is still all grass. There is some landscaping and flowers in the front of it, and some, so I think that is there, and we would ask that it be approved.
Okay, just to orient ourselves, Ms. Chesky, that is a portion of Taylor that is one way that travels, I guess, south?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
From Lincoln Street to Hampton Street.
From Lincoln to Hamden, yes. And Councilor Tallman probably at one point delivered post here at some point during his illustrious career, but I'm going to say that's a pretty narrow street with pretty tight parking requirements, if one recalls.
Very narrow.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Tallman. Before I get too far afield, is there any department head here who wishes to add to this discussion? I see no department heads raising their hands. I see Councilor Bacon's hand up. Councilor Bacon?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is an ancillary topic to your order before you, but it does pertain. I appreciate Attorney Chesky coming in on behalf of the property owner with her hat in her hand, but I would remind the committee that the full city council has referred to legal the same matter relative to a property on 333 Rock Valley Road, under which the same conditions stand and for which no special permit has been applied for, and it's owned by a nonprofit company. So I just bring it to the attention of the committee because things can happen that don't go in the exact right order. And I do appreciate that these folks are coming in to do this properly, but we still need to bring that in compliance. The full council asked the attorney to communicate this to the property owner, and to my knowledge, it has yet to happen. So I just want to note it for the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Bacon. No, that's not unreasonable, though it's not exactly the 73 Taylor is pertaining to the issue relative to the ordinance. So that's within reason. The let's see here. In order, I have Councilor Bacon, if you just remove your hand up, and then Councilor Sullivan and Councilor McGivern. Councilor Sullivan.
Yeah, I'm looking at the pictures. I mean, done a beautiful job of replacing, what was a building in sad condition. I understand Councilor Bacon's concerns about what's gone on other properties, but given the nature of Taylor Street and the size of the lot, I mean, really, it's gone from a single-family house to a two-family house. You're going to need a place for 2 cars, and it really looks pretty good. I think this is one of the ones where, given the more downtown and not a rural setting, where we're living within constraints of stuff that's existed for over 100 years, I think this is pretty good. I'm looking at the letter we have from Bob Parent, and giving us the 3 options here. And as long as it still requires Board of Public Works approval, and as long as the sidewalk is repaired, I think this is the only appropriate way to handle this kind of a construction in this neighborhood. And aesthetically and practically, it looks like the best way to go. So I'd be in favor. I'm going to be in favor of approving this as it is constructed, with the repair of that sidewalk. All right. And the stipulation that go along, they've still got to get DPW approval on this. So.
Okay, let me just go back to this order here. Councilor McGivern is recognized next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Attorney Chesky, thank you. Just a quick question. I don't have what Councilor Sullivan and the committee has, but I do have my Google map. Just coming off the street is a driveway for 1 car to get into the front of the house? And how many cars will be able to park in front of the house?
As I understand it, Councilor McGivern, there are spots for 2 cars to park in front of the house.
And the reason I ask how wide the driveway is, because how many parking places is it taking from on the street?
I don't know the exact dimensions of the driveway, but as I understand it, it would hold 2 cars.
Does the committee have that, or?
Joe, hold on. Councilor, Attorney Chesky, we just repeat your. I was looking at one of the photos. So what was the exact, Joe? What was the exact question?
The size of the actual driveway. How many spots on the street does it eliminate?
Oh wow. I have photos here. Let's.
Probably 2.
Yeah, I don't want to. Let me just.
I don't have the exact dimensions, Councilor McGivern. I'm sorry for that. My client probably would have those. But I believe that it holds 2 cars.
Okay. If you could just have them forwarded, or if you could forward it to us, that'd be great.
Certainly. I would be glad to.
Yeah, Joe?
Yeah.
Joe, I have the photo right now in front of me. And what I'll do is, and Ryan, this is the photo. It says 73 Taylor Street from August of 2019. That's how it's labeled from Mr. Parent. And it shows, it shows exactly what the proponent did. Wow. Yeah. So basically what the proponent did was rip up public. First of all, let's step back. I heard what Councilor Sullivan said, and we appreciate what the proponent did. relative to taking down a single-family home or removing and making it what looks like an attractive two-family home that's set back. Okay, so, all right, so that's on the record, thank you. But what the proponent did was essentially rip up a public way, shredded it and left it looking horribly. And there's no debate on that. I mean, to any reasonable person. So it looks like they paved over part of it, made it a double sidewalk, Joe, left what was probably half of the existing sidewalk, and the other half of it is all rubble with overgrown weeds. So that's how it's looking right now to naked eye. Sorry. Councilor Tallman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I go along with Councilor Sullivan's idea. I read the letter and the options that we have from Bob Parent and the two photographs. I think they did a great job comparing 2015 to 2018 with that property. And I think it seems fair that they should, go through the Board of Public Works, repair the sidewalk, and just keep the driveway. As Attorney Chesky stated, it is half of that lawn is still there, and there's flowers in front of it, painted in front of the house, planted. So I would go along with Councilor Sullivan's motion to have them do number 2 to approve the driveway as constructed, and note that they have to get the approval from the Board of Public Works to repair the sidewalk.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilor Bacon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to clarify that I was not intending to speak in opposition to this special permit application, but simply to look for support from the committee to seek that the other property owner, out of fairness, applies for the same special permit in a similar situation. Thank you.
Yeah, I guess that's an order I'll file with you, Councilor Bacon, on your behalf, unless that's already filed or.
No, I appreciate that this owner's coming in to do the right thing.
Well, that's an order that probably should be filed, and now you have the exact reference and ordinance, and it should probably be referred to the building commissioner for further review. Would be.
Oh, I've been through all that a year ago. Thank you.
Oh, sugar, I'm sorry. Okay. Okay. Well, lest I lose my train of thought here, is there any member of the public that wishes to address the committee on 73 Taylor Street? I don't hear any voices. I don't see any hands. Okay, with that, we're still in a public hearing. Before we close it, I hate closing things before, unless the body has a chance to briefly discuss. I guess I'm of the opinion that the point number 2 is probably the best course of the best course to take at this point, which it looks like it's bullet number 2. Approve the driveway as currently constructed. Note the driveway width and the street exceed DPW standards, which is a 12-foot maximum at the sidewalk, and would require approval of the Board of Public Works. I'd also say I just want for the public consumption that I did have a chance to review this property with the building commissioner earlier this afternoon. He called me on it. I think with all the things going on and everything else, he generally would have written a letter, and it is a little strange that a building permit was issued prior to a special permit being approved by this body. I think we kind of went in backwards order. Normally it would be, this body would approve the permit, and then you would, or whatever with the permit, and then you would go to the building permit phase, but that wasn't done. And I would note that just for Attorney Chesky's ears, that is the building commissioner's opinion that her client probably could be a little more responsive to questions and concerns of the building commissioners, the building department. So that's nothing we can do about 73 Taylor, but that's a preview of coming attractions, Because if he's not happy, generally we're not going to be happy. If he gives a negative recommendation, generally we're going to support the negative recommendation. That's just future reference, not relevant to 73 Taylor, but relevant to the proponent. So that's on the record. Okay, what would the body do with a public hearing? Do you want to? I would take a motion to close it if you want to consider that.
A motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Need a second?
A second now.
Second.
There you go. There you go. I know we're all very new here. It's getting late. A motion's made and seconded to close the public hearing. Under discussion. Hearing none. On the motion, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. So, okay, public hearing closed. Councilor Sullivan, do you want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'd make a motion to approve the special permit with the caveat of a approval of the Board of Public Works and the repair of the existing sidewalk.
So the motion's been, I second that. Motion's been seconded to approve the special permit on the condition that the proponent complies with bullet number 2 of Mr. Parent's letter dated, addressed to me, dated July 17th, 2020. So that is before us. We've already gone over what that letter is. Under discussion by any member. Linda, Councilor Bacon has her hand up.
Set. Thank you.
All set. Thank you, Councilor Bacon. Any other member of the body want to weigh in on this? Seeing none, on the motion to approve the special permit with the aforesaid condition, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Okay, Attorney Chesky, I think you pretty well know the drill here, so we don't have to repeat it. And we thank you for your time, okay?
Thank you, councilors, and thank you to Mr. Parent and to the building commissioner, Mr. Cody. Appreciate their assistance.
Okay, now, boy, I'll tell you, if I could walk and chew gum, that would be a blessing. Okay, I'll take a motion to take number 9 off the table and open the public hearing.
Motion to take item 9 off the table and open up the public hearing.
Second.
Motion made and second to remove to the table agenda item 9 and open up a public hearing. Under discussion, hearing none on the motion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Okay, so before us, agenda item 9, public hearing 6/16/20. Petition of Cynthia and Mike Yell for a non-conforming use at 1 Martin Street. 4.7.2 is the ordinance, which is basically to say, and I did speak with the building commissioner on this as well. This is the use of a pre-existing non-conforming use. It is within our ordinances because it was within that use in the last 2 years. So this is ripe for us for discussion as a special permit. Miss Yell is with us right now, who is the owner of 1 Martin. I also see Elena and Travis on here. Let me just get to the application, and we'll see what has to be said. Oh, okay. I'm not going to read the whole thing, Majig, because let me just go into the gist of it. This is Elena DeShane. She wants to rent space in 1 Martin, and she wants to open a groom shop called Paper City Paw Shop. She's a certified pet groomer for almost 7 years. Learned a lot about the business. Now has an opportunity to learn and to have her own business. And okay, the plan here is to be open Monday through Friday and every other Saturday. Grooming will be by appointment only, and the operating hours will be 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Having hours by appointment means I have a set schedule for each day, and I will not be taking walk-ins. I plan to continue my standard daily grooming from 5 to 8 dogs a day, depending on my customers' needs. Appointments will be staggered throughout the day, so no dogs are waiting around, and this avoids multiple people arriving at once. I work with an assistant who does certain things. It's a teamwork approach, and depending upon the size and the size and the breed, I typically have dogs come in and out within an hour or two. I've had many satisfied pet parents who like the way I groom because their dog gets in and out in a timely manner. One aspect of pleasing my clients and difference from other groomers is that I always call my clients ahead of time to tell them their grooming is completed. It gives them time to make the commute and arrive when the dog is ready. I have a clear vision on how I want Paper City Paw Spa to run. I want to give Holyoke a great groomer that they can trust. My main goal is to make the dogs and their owners happy and comfortable. I've invested in the latest technology. All equipment will be sanitized daily. I will be sure to create a lobby in the space, keeping the grooming area separate. At no point will dogs be loose or unattended. Before making any appointments, I always make sure the dog is up to date on their vaccines. Okay, and just so, oh, here's a map. Oh, look at that. It's a homemade. Oh, I like these the best. Okay, I'll hold this up to the camera at my earliest chance here, but I see a little schematic, a little drawing. Just so we're clear, the proponent, the potential vendor lives across the street. So it's approximately about a 50-foot commute for her between her residence and 1 Martin Street. With that, Ms. Yell.
Yes.
You have the floor.
So they had approached us and asked us if they could, just one more thing, Chairman, is my nephew, Michael, is present also, and we jointly own the property.
Hi, Michael.
Hi, Mike.
So they approached me and asked if I would be interested in renting the space to them. And basically, you know, it's available to them if they want. You know, we've taken into consideration lighting, traffic, you know, just, you know, the main points that would be a concern. There's also one entrance, which they are looking to, there's actually 2 entrances, but one's blocked off. They're actually looking to open up that entrance so animals can enter through one door and out the other. You know, we've been lucky because that space has been rented for the last 20 years from the same renter, and it's always been a commercial property. We've designated one parking space that's closest to their door so they could, their clients could park there, drop the dog off and leave if they should so choose to use that.
Yeah, Ms. Yell, just when did the and I know it was a blow. When did the coin shop cease existence?
Well, Dave Heffron, who was the proprietor, passed away unexpectedly at the beginning of December, and his sister Mary Falsetti was handling all of his affairs, and she graciously rented the unit until the end of May, because things needed to be taken care of, and there was a lot of red tape that they had to go through to be able to do that.
Okay, so it's certainly within the 2 years, even though this is prior existing non-conforming use, it's eligible for a special permit because there was a commercial use in that unit. And we all know the unit, right? This is at the corner of Westfield and Martin, okay? You know, world famous Charlie's Market is, you know, that's like a staple of my childhood, for heaven's sakes. Going in there buying bubblegum and baseball cards for many, many years, many times. And then, of course, Ron carried it out on the business when Charlie passed away as a market, a corner market. Can you imagine? Talk about a throwback. And but there we are. So, okay, I do see Elena and Travis here. Elena, Travis, can you hear me?
Hi, yes. Thanks for having us.
Sounds like Elena. Elena, I pretty much, I hope I hit the highlights of your memo, but do you want to embellish upon anything I may have skipped?
I mean, I think you hit most of it. Just my main things is that people don't really park and stay a while. You know, it's usually a quick drop off, and you know, I let people know 20 minutes ahead of time their dogs are going to be ready so they can pick up promptly, so dogs aren't, you know, waiting around barking. And yeah, I've had good luck in this industry, and I'm excited and hopeful that I get the opportunity to start my own business here at a great location.
Ms. Yell, when you say you're going to designate one parking spot, will you designate it with clear signage?
We can. It's as you know, Charlie's Market was located. There's like 4 or 5 spaces that are off street. And we can designate that as being solely for that business.
Yeah, if you would, can you post a little signage or something appropriate to the building, is that possible?
Well, there's actually a sign out there already that says that it is solely restricted for patrons, because the hair salon is part of that property too, and they have. If the proprietors don't park there, then there are spaces for clients.
I think in this case, I'm pretty sure the proprietors are not going to be parking at 1 Martin Street. I'm pretty sure, unless they're having a really tough day, I would imagine they probably won't be parking there. So maybe just for clients only of the.
There's a sign out there already to that end.
Okay, so parking only for patrons of Paper City Spa. That would be pretty cool, in my opinion. But I'm not going to make that condition. Just a recommendation. That's all. But okay. Let us see here. Do any counselors want to address this matter? I see no hands. Are there any department heads here that want to address this matter? I see no hands. Are there any members of the public that want to address this matter?
I do.
Oh, Ms. Flynn. Oh, that's an abutter, right? Miss Flynn. Miss
Yes.
Flynn, welcome. Okay,
Thank you.
fire away.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to ask a couple questions about the business. I'm really, I live across the street, and the concerns that I had were, is one space going to be sufficient? How many, and will the traffic pattern be okay, was one of my main concerns. The other concern I had was, and I'm a dog lover. I have 3 grand dogs that I take care of, and I'm a big fan. So I just wanted to know about noise and how that was to be handled. Is the facility have like an outdoor spot, or is it just indoors and the noise will be at a minimum, the barking kind of thing on a
Yeah, so dogs will
hold on, Elena. Okay, so this is how it works. What we're going to do is we're just going to take these. We're going to bite one at a time. So, Elena, why don't you address the noise and the parking in your answer? Okay.
All right. So for the parking, I mean, we'll have that one designated spot, and like I said before, the pickup and drop off is usually pretty quick. So that should minimize the cars on the street. And as for noise, the dogs will be inside, and it works best for me if dogs aren't noisy, because it's hard to groom while dogs are barking. So I do my best to keep the noise at a minimum. And a part of letting owners know ahead of time that their dogs will be ready avoids them waiting around in cages, potentially barking. So that's something I do different that a lot of other groomers don't do. And I find that it's really helpful, just because there's no point in having dogs, wait in a crate to be picked up.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then why don't you speak to Ms. Flynn's concern relative to traffic? Because I saw in your proposal that you're going to have, the hours are 8 to 4, and then every other Saturday 8 to 4, and then although that's going to get a touch, that may potentially get a touch confusing, but you mentioned 5 to 8 clients a day. Is that accurate, Elena?
Yeah, so my hours won't definitely be 8 to 4 p.m. I usually do it by appointment. Generally, I start at 8 a.m. and depending on how many dogs I have that day, I usually finish up around 2 o'clock. Of course, every day is different and days vary. So, of course, the hours could vary, but ideally it's going to be by appointment only. So it's not going to be, set open hours where people can just come and stop by anytime. It'll be by appointment.
Okay, so is that okay? So you can't just drop in, and usually groomers don't do that anyhow. Usually it is by appointment, but in your case, it's going to be mandatory.
Right. Yep. By appointment only. There'll be no walk-ins.
All right. All right. That is a. Okay. So, Ms. Flynn, did I miss anything?
No, I just have one more question, and
Please.
it's strictly a grooming facility, correct? Not like a daycare facility, or are you going to think of expanding to that? I was just curious.
Go ahead.
Strictly grooming, no daycare, no boarding, just grooming.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to kind of understand that as a neighbor. Thank you.
Of course.
Okay, so I think that's a very good point, and perhaps the committee would entertain a condition that this would be, along with the hours, that there would be the permit is conditioned. So you heard what we just did on the last one, right? You heard what we did with Amazon. So that right there was. I've only been here 8.5 years, but that was an incredibly unusual discussion, for one, and incredibly unusual that we would limit the duration of a special permit. That doesn't happen often. In fact, I've never seen it, and until now, and we haven't seen it yet, but we'll find out August 4th. But we want to be clear that generally special permits, they just keep going. They don't. You don't have to come in for a renewal. But I would want this body to consider having a special. Since you just heard what the proponent said, and you heard what the abutters' concern is, I want this body to not only add the hours of the condition, but I would want to say specifically, this is for grooming only. That there shall be no boarding at all. So I would want to see that on there, but. In the meantime, I want to make sure I got Ms. Flynn. Did I get all your concerns, or is there anything else?
Yes, and I just wanted to say I'm a big fan of the business. I just wanted to understand better as a neighbor what it was all about. So I appreciate this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Well, we appreciate you being here. Okay. Any other member of the public want to address the body on this topic? I do see Councilor Tallman's hand up. Councilor Tallman.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think this is a great project, I think, for that area, and that business has been there for a number of years already, established business, and with the proponent looking at being right across the street. And my concern also was the number of dogs and the hours, and I think by appointment only, I think it's going to work out great. I think it's a great location. Sounds like she's done this. She's very qualified to do this. And as far as what you read, Councilor Bartley, everything in that, the application sounds like it's going to be upfront. Everything's going to be clean. Dogs come in, they get groomed, and they call the owners to pick them up. And it seems like it's going to be a very smooth operation. And I think it's a great location. And I thank Elaine and Travis for putting their faith in the city for this business, and for Mikey and Cynthia Yelp willing to give them the space to do this.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that. I think it's important to point out that Elena has credentials, and she's been in business. She's been in the industry for 7 years, so this is not a startup and try to wing it. And I like the fact that she's across the street, and it's across Martin Street too. I mean, it's not like a super wide street. It is true that little area, and we have to credit Mike and Cynthia. That little area is 5 Martin. Those ladies there are they're jumping. I mean, I don't know, as far as I can tell. One of them is a sister to a very good friend of mine, and I don't think they take any more clients. So that's how busy they are. And, you know, right here in little old Holyoke and little old Elmwood. So, you know, if you got the product, I think you can make it work. Despite the economy. So that being said, we should probably entertain a motion to close the public hearing and then go on to a vote.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Good.
Motion's made and seconded to close the public hearing. Under discussion. Hearing and seeing none on the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Okay, so my motion is going to be to grant the special permit with the aforesaid conditions that the hours of operation start no earlier than 8 a.m., run no later than 4 p.m. Monday through Friday, and that Saturdays be allowed for 2 Saturdays per month. Whether or not they're every other Saturday, that's really tough for us to legislate. But why don't we just say 2 Saturdays per month, no more than from between the hours of 8 a.m. and to 4 p.m. Furthermore, that the business shall only be for pet grooming. And furthermore, that at no time shall boarding of any animals of any sort be allowed. That's the motion.
Second.
You know, this isn't easy, you know. I wish you would just all realize that. Okay, on the motion, motion made and seconded, under discussion. Hearing and seeing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Okay, permit. So here's how it works. Elena, Travis, Miss Yell, Mr. Yell, Miss Flynn. We recommend to the full city council. That's all a subcommittee does, and that the full city council will next meet Tuesday, August 4th at 7 p.m. And that is a public meeting, not a public hearing, but it's a public meeting, and we'll have we'll either have that approved, we'll have it amended, or we'll have it rejected. And if it's rejected, it would probably go back to committee. So that's kind of where it is. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. There is one more item on this agenda, but I'm going to leave it tabled because I don't want to schedule another meeting right now. I appreciate Mr. Allen putting that on there, but I really don't like this lonely feeling here at City Hall, and I'm hopeful we can come to a point where we actually can meet in committee. I mean, Joe should be there. Mr. Murphy should be there. It's just Miss Bacon should be over there. It's horrible. Very lonely. But I want to thank Papa Doc for opening up the building, and I think that's it. Okay, so everybody have a nice rest of your July, and we'll see you in August. And I'll take one more motion.
Motion adjourned.
Second.
Motion made and second to adjourn. On discussion, hearing none. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. I appreciate it. Have a good night.
Good night. Good meeting,
Night, guys.
Everybody for your help.